government to work against it.
If there are any issues that are of concern to any one of us, we have the parliamentary group meetings, we have caucuses like this one. We can sit here and be able to correct ourselves. If there are issues that are of concern to members, we can do it in-house here. But when we live here united to prosecute the agenda of the government that we set up. There's always a temptation to say this government belongs to the president, maybe, and his deputy, because there's a temptation for somebody to say my government. That's why I have chosen, whenever you hear me speaking, I say the government of Kenya. And the closest I go is to say our government.
On his part, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has asked MPs to prioritize the construction of classrooms for students of grade 7, 8 and 9 soon after they receive the NGCDF funds.
During your recess, to go and plan with the teachers and the BOMs on how using the money from the national government fund, the CDF, how to put up the junior secondary school. And we want to lead by example. If this divide of our politics start by way of example, because we are government, using CDF funds to put up the junior secondary school within a very short time, the rest of the country will follow suit. The CBC in itself is not a bad thing, but it was rushed without public participation. And when the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms went round, 86% of Kenyans spoke very strongly that that is where the junior secondary school should be domiciled.
And Azimio La Umoja leaders say that tomorrow's meeting in Kamkunji grounds, as well as their 12th December rally, is still on despite the fallout of the two commissioners led by Kenya leader Martha Karua. They say that they'll be exercising their constitutional right, which allows them to hold public protest. Azimio said that the right granted by the constitution cannot be derogated by anyone, including the courts and any other authority.
We wish to affirm that the Kamkunji event is a public consultative forum. The rights to demonstrate are enshrined in the Constitution, but the Kamukunji meeting is a consultative meeting, and we want to make it very clear that the meeting will be a coming together of Kenyans to share views on the state of affairs in the country. The meeting is in line with Article 37 of the Constitution on the right to assemble, right to demonstrate, picket, and to petition.
Azimio further questioned the integrity of the Kenya Kwanza government, saying that there was a trend of individuals with criminal backgrounds being appointed to critical public service positions and government.
We are concerned about the very brazen attack on Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Brazen because the accused are being appointed to critical public offices that have immense bearing on whether we grow or stagnate as a country. We are seeing a pattern where people facing serious criminal cases like money laundering, fraud, giving kickbacks, such people are being appointed to critical positions, including leadership of the very institutions that have taken them to court.
Kamilili MP Didmas Baraza now says that there was no reason for IEBC Deputy Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera to resign if she was doing the right thing. In a statement, the lawmaker said that Cherera's resignation was an indication that she was at fault. Elsewhere, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei has said that the resignation of Cherera and Commissioner Justice Nyang'aya have thrown Azimio La Umoja leader Raila Odinga's plan to hold public rallies into limbo. And former IEBC CEO James Oswago and Deputy Commissioner Wilson Shulai have been fined 7.5 million shillings each of 4 years jail in default over the 1.3 billion shillings chicken gate scandal. The two were convicted of graft in relation to procurement of voter identification devices in 2013. Magistrate Felix Kombo found them guilty of failing to comply with the law relating to procurement. They also failed to ensure that the changes made to the contract awarded to Face Technologies Limited for the supply of electronic voter identification was approved by the IEBC Tender Committee. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The Spice Newswire is brought to you by Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Go ahead and get yours today. It's your time.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
presentation.
Have a reggae morning on Vibes Radio.
When you are sentenced, you are sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No. Since about shipping up. You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man.
Emmanuel Talabu used to tell us a story of they were in school and they'd been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raised a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a ship or a ship goat?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, and there's a little bit of traffic that's forming here and there in different parts of the city. It already looks like it's going to be pretty busy today. Some coming off of Fika Superhighway, getting into the city. You can use the service lanes already. And we're also seeing a buildup of traffic on Mombasa Road, and that's going out towards North Airport Road and then out towards Outer Ring. The Southern Bypass has a little bit of action here and there, but nothing to worry about, at least not for now. Coming out of Westland, we're likely to see a buildup going then towards 7 o'clock. Coming into the cities where you see the most of it, at least for now, let's talk on SpiceFM KE and see how things open up in about an hour or so.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation.
Oh, good morning. How are you? How is everything going? It's Tuesday. It's the second day of the week. It's also the 6th of December. Everything is fine. I hope so. Not a rainy morning, but likely to be so in a short while. Coming into Tuesday, and we say good morning to you. Karibu sana. Sana. City, good morning.
Good morning. No.
How are things in the land of Muga?
Things are good.
In the kingdom of Muga, of which you are king.
Yes, in the empire.
Sorry, please.
You're in the empire.
Here I was relegating you to kingdom.
Yes.
And Kumbe is empire.
Yes.
Kusalama lakini?
Maridadi. No?
Mimi? Niko salama. What's that thing you normally say? Hofu kwako. What's that? Hofu.
Yes, hofu kwako.
Hofu is what?
See, it's hofu. What else could it possibly be?
I don't know. Sasa, if you say it in another language, it's what?
Mimi ojui wewe.
Ojui wewe.
No.
Oh.
Nafsi yako. Are you also okay?
Oh, Mimi, yes. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nimeelewa sasa.
Yes.
Eric, good morning.
Okay.
Hey.
It's a good morning. Inakuanga hivyo. Okay. Sawa. Kama umesema, unajua ukishasema ni sawa. If the emperor says.
Empress.
He's wearing clothes.
He's emperor of ours.
If the emperor says he's wearing clothes, ako sawa.
He's wearing clothes.
Ako sawa bwana. I'm well.
Good.
Good to see you.
Same here.
Yeah? Welcome to Tuesday. Where is my phone?
You left it on the tablet. Le table.
You can see it out there.
I can. Even the newspapers, you have them. Afuka wacha simu.
Simu iko hapo, unaiona?
Nene nikuchukulie.
Give me 1 second.
Wacha City
City
ataletea. Asante City. Sasa, now that I don't have that phone that I refer to, so you refer to it and tell us what we'll be discussing today.
I refer to this my phone.
I refer to your phone. Your Samsung Galaxy. Z Flip 4.
Thank you very much.
Maze. Wapanda bei. Na ulinunua before the discount.
That's the problem now. Alafu sasa wanaenda kupatia Christmas discount kama mimi nimeshanunua ile ya kwanza.
Uko na 150. 150,000 shillings worth of a phone.
Imagine.
Wewe ni mtu mkubwa.
I'm doing well.
Wewe ni mtu mkubwa.
This my life.
Wakuheshimu.
Sasa, today we're going to have a couple of conversations. Research, innovation, and commercialization in Kenyan universities.
Research on Ovalia?
Research, innovation, commercialization, streamlining ile of Kenyan universities. It's an important conversation to have in terms of who's doing what digitally.
Yes.
Melewa?
Yes.
Digitally.
Yes.
Then we're going to have a conversation.
Umeletea kila kitu. Somebody's notes. Super 8.
He's brought you everything, even the ones you didn't ask for.
Even somebody's
You just brought everything that was on the table.
Thank you. Research, innovation, and commercialization in Kenyan universities.
Exactly.
That's what we'll be discussing at
7 o'clock.
With who?
We will be discussing this with Professor Romanus Odhiambo, who is the Vice Chancellor at the Meru University of Science and Technology.
Meru University of Science and Technology.
Yes. Did you know that there was one?
So that is MUST, must.
Yes. Prof from must.
Prof
Allah? Of must shall
Allah?
be here. Okay? At 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, let's just skip an hour. At 9 o'clock, we'll be having a conversation with Irene Ochola. She's a Client Services Officer at Access to Justice Team for the Federation of Women Lawyers, otherwise known as FEDA. And they will be here to talk to us about gender-sensitive mediation. Mediation, of course, being a form of being an alternate form of dispute resolution. And so gender-sensitive mediation apparently is a thing. We'll have a conversation about that. And then at 8 o'clock, we will talk with a governance expert in the name of Professor Peter
Kagwanja.
Excuse me.
Esquire.
Kagwanja. And we'll be talking about time for politics and time to govern. When do we stop politicking? When do we actually get the work done? Excuse me. So we'll have that conversation at 8 o'clock. So we have 7, boom, 8, boom, 9.
Well,
you know?
That's a good one. Show imejaa hiyo. Haya. COVID?
COVID. Sasa now see, now you've had
Pole
me
bwana.
doing
Ay,
things.
pole sana.
Sorry, my
Ay,
throat
yeah,
was doing the
pole.
business, Usijali. All right, so let's look at COVID numbers making rounds around the country. Before we do that, let's talk about China. Xi's face-saving exit from his signature policy. China COVID is what is being reported today by the BBC. If you want to know what the government's COVID plan is in China, look at what it does rather than what it says. And looking at that particular report, then with the protests that have taken place over the last few days, there has not been a significant drop in infections, yet public transport now no longer requires a PCR test. Bars and restaurants are slowly reopening. And in some cases, people are being allowed to isolate at home after catching COVID instead of going into centralized quarantine facilities. Remember that the opposite was the same just a week ago, where the government was holding fast and tight to the COVID-19 measures and saying, look, don't go anywhere. You get COVID, you're in a quarantine facility. You want to get onto public transport, you need to have a negative test. You want to go to bars and restaurants, sorry, you can't. But we're seeing that slowly shifting. Many would say it's as a result of the protests that we are seeing. Many would say, well, look, and this is all in the face of not necessarily a drop in COVID numbers. You get it? Okay. If we look at the numbers also then that are making the rounds in Kenya, we have 9 new cases from a sample size of 242. Recoveries at 63. 0 recorded deaths yet another day. And this gives Kenya a positivity rate of well under 5% just from these numbers that we're looking at. So numbers dwindling there. And that's what it looks like for COVID today.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Always appreciate it. Look forward to tomorrow's update.
I aim to please.
18 minutes after 6. Good morning. If you're online, let us know where you're tuned in from this morning by posting a comment on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. You'll open YouTube today and Instagram and everywhere else. After we take a look at the weather forecast, we will be doing our usual shout outs. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women, and only women guest.
Everything is so larger than life. You kind of have to have a good understanding of who you are. You could easily lose yourself.
We have a global approach in the programs that we put together, meaning that it's not just about refining my business, it's about refining the industry, it's about touching the youth and making sure that in totality, change actually happens.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m.
Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 27 in a mostly clear Nakuru at 14. It's 12 degrees and cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 25 in a clear Eldoret at 12. Mostly clear at 24 in Mombasa, highs of 32 and highs of 32 as well in a mostly sunny Malindi today, currently at 24. It's 17 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 28 as well in Kakamega, where it's clear at 15. Partly cloudy conditions at 18 in Kampala, highs of 27 and highs of 32 in a mostly sunny Dar es Salaam at 26. It's cloudy at 13 in Johannesburg, highs of 24 today, and mostly clear at 26 in Lagos. We'll see highs of 33, highs of 30 in a rainy Kinshasa this morning at 25. It's 3 degrees and sunny Tuesday afternoon in Beijing, highs of 5 and lows of -8, and it's cloudy at 3 in Paris with highs of 6. We'll see lows of 1. London is clear at 5, highs of 7 and lows of 1. And 5 degrees Monday night in New York, coming into Tuesday, seeing highs of 8 and lows of 5.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
morning.
Nairobi.
Morning.
Am I loud enough?
Maybe
good,
just a little bit
That's
louder.
all the energy that we need.
Wow. Okay. K. Subembe is tuned in from Baringo and says good morning. Dr. Lars Agano says, good morning. Everybody tuning on YouTube as well as Facebook, where we're streaming in live today. Good morning from Doha. It's been a while. Christine Silla says, Christian Silla says, good morning to everybody tuned in. All right, more people tuned in this morning. Clear for Sanam says, before you say Jack Robinson, I'm in. Well, okay. We haven't said it yet, but there it is. Colwen is listening. Sabi Nyar Leg said, good morning to you. Now, please, can everybody just give me a minute? Yeah.
Nyar what?
Sabi Nyar Leg says, good morning. Are you ready for the next thing? For the all beautiful Ndu. Let's take a moment to recognize that greeting. Latif and the other senior gentlemen.
The Emperor.
The Emperor. Yes. Tuned in from Buruburu as usual. We love you guys. Well, we love you too. Robertson Bogo says good morning. Honorable Nick said he's listening from Kitale. And from the Palms Resort in Nyali is where MCR James Kimanzi is. Rakama Derek says good morning, following you back. Naso. Okay. Benson Mumo says good morning. Tuning from Gatundo is Zachary, and Kisi Hapo Omoriki Makori is tuned in. Elekaya Marenya is tuned in from and says good morning, lady and gentlemen, tuning from K South, waiting for your constructive and objective conversations.
Wait, Zachary. Kwani Zachary moved from Nakuru. He went back home to Shags.
A minute.
Let's say he's in Gatundu for the time being, shall we?
Okay,
when the time isn't being, he may be elsewhere.
Nisawa.
Hiya.
John Amasongola is tuned in, and General Kurir Lagat is also tuned in. In from Nakuru City is Russia, and he says he's present. Outer Ring Road is where Kevin Marquet is. United States of Utawala is where Newton is, tuned in from this morning. Mutuma Marimba says, SpiceFM, ni mark kwa register. Situ umefanya hivyo?
Tick.
Thank you.
Mwalimu naweka tick.
Thank you. Willie Bazoo says he's tuning from Kitale, and Kaiser Obed says, good morning, team. Faristo Muganda is tuned in as well. Quite a number of people online this morning on the 6th day of December. Karibuni sana.
Kila mtu. With that story of marking the register and Mwalimu City here, I've just remembered a story was given by a friend of mine who's a teacher. Crowding in schools. This guy is teaching lower primary kids, and he has, I think, was it over 50 students in a class.
Let's just round it up to 60, shall we?
20 airport.
60.
Okay, so every morning, of course, he has to take the register and take the register. So and so present, so and so present, so and so present, so and so present, so and so present. So he's doing it at 60 names, my friend. Present. Sometimes these kids are all noisy, they're busy. So when you say Ndu is at that point in a heated argument with CT. So somebody else has got to remind Ndu. The teacher has moved. So you just say, present.
Just keep going.
You just, whatever you are, just scream present. Now he's been ticking, and kids have been present in his class.
And lo and behold.
One day, the headmaster calls him. And there's a boy in the headmaster's office. And there's a parent in the school, in the headmaster's office. This kid is in your class. Teacher looks. Okay.
This story is not going to end well for the teacher, but go on.
So.
Okay. Has he been coming to class? Well,
the register would say so.
According to the register, yes. He has been coming to class. Turns out that this kid was actually caught by this parent in the school somewhere. Mangai was brought to school. It turns out that this kid has actually not been coming to school for the last 2 weeks.
He's what?
He's been marked present.
In every day, this kid has been marked present. The teacher looks at this kid. This kid looks like 3 other kids in his class.
Yeah.
Yes.
No clue. Overcrowding, everybody packed inside.
The present. Okay.
After a while, they get the rhythm.
You can even have one child saying present for everybody.
Today it's your turn.
Yeah, to Ebu, you say today, me, I said yesterday.
60 students in a class is tricky.
It is.
Very tricky.
Anyway, City?
Yes.
The proverb tafadhali?
Yes, we're still in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Quarrels end, comma, words once spoken never die.
Quarrels end.
Yes.
Words
Once spoken never end.
Never end.
And you do know that I am reading from my
Samsung Galaxy Tab
it
S8
would, it would never be any other way. Yeah.
Yes, just so that you know, okay? The clarity with which the words just pop out and speak to me, and then I speak them out to you.
After Mombasa, do you?
Sawa. Now go onto that Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra.
Right.
Take your S8 pen.
Yes.
Open the browser that you have. And from your browser, type www.standardmedia.co.ke with your S pen, right? When you get there, it'll ask you to subscribe to the Standard Insider, which is this premium product that gives you content the way you want the content to come to you. Okay? Now, once you do that, you'll only be paying 190 shillings per month, and you save 100 bob, and you get all this premium content the best way, served to you the best way. Standard what? Insider. Haya. What's on the front pages?
Sasa mimi nitakwambia ile front pages niko nayo.
Ulikuwa unaniambia niko na mkate kwa nini?
Umeshatoa.
Ziko mkate.
Sign language umeelewa?
Mkate
Mkate imeenda sasa.
Okay.
Is that singular or plural?
Mkate.
Mukate.
Or is it mikate?
Mikate. Raila seeks to ride on Ruto's failed pledges. Comeback bid. Azimio leader to lead a national conversation on governance and performance of the president and his cabinet during several rallies he has called, a move that has thrust him into limelight. But government officials say he wants to use chaos and roll back economic gains. Okay. Guilty. Oswago to pay for IEBC ballot scandal. Remember that name? Oswago? We'll look at that story.
Wow.
And unfortunately, this sad story we saw, they were a model family that everybody admired. Relatives of a mother who was killed alongside her 2 daughters by her husband say they are yet to come to terms with the murders as their relatives lived their lives to the full in America.
Wow. Okay. That's what?
Standard.
Nation?
Uko nayo, my friend.
Oh, hii ndio hii. So the Standard front page, why the Nation front page? Why besieged IEBC duo quit? Now, we know so far that Commissioner Justice Nyang'aya of the IEBC and Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera have resigned.
Yes.
Sent a letter to the appointing authority, the president, and said, thanks.
We're not doing again.
Thanks. Holding on to this are Commissioners Francis Wanderi and Irene Masit. Now, what's happening? What the Standard is saying, the Nation is saying, is that they fear the tribunal will be turned into a lynch mob with the possibility of criminal sanctions against them. Number one, they are also resigning means that they will not face tribunal, removing the shame of public ridicule and questioning. Commissioner C. ouster bid as already predetermined with one final outcome, their removal from office. The money. Resigning as opposed to being pushed out by the tribunal gives a chance to besieged commissioners to earn gratuity and other benefits. At least you don't go what? Empty-handed. They hope to avoid that what would be a public scrutiny. So that's a headline there. Then there's another headline in the Nation. Gachagua, Kenyans to get all tenders under 1 billion shillings.
What?
What?
All tenders. The Deputy President says the plan will also see local investors benefit from mega projects by ensuring that contracts above $1 billion are awarded to foreign firms that enter into a joint venture with local business. Do you understand?
No.
So any government tender that is $1 billion shillings and below will only be given to a Kenyan. No foreign entity will get a tender from government that is $1 billion shilling and below. And those that are above $1 billion shillings, there must be a Kenyan in it.
in the business.
Yes.
Okay.
You must have a Kenyan who? Partner.
Okay.
Gravy train, sema gravy train. Ndio hii imekuja.
Yes.
I am a Kenyan. Are you a foreigner? Do you want to do business in this country? I have a name.
I have to link up with you.
I have a birth certificate. I'm Kenyan. Just come. All you need is me. On a name there.
And we're good to go.
As a partner in your business. And you're good to go. Si unajua unanipatia kakitu yangu tu.
Kakitu.
Yeah.
Ile kakitu.
The heads of primary schools are meeting for their annual conference in Mombasa. And there's a report that was shared yesterday by the boss of the Kenya Institute for Curriculum Development, which says that public primary schools are leading the implementation of CBC practical lessons. The schools are doing much better than their private counterparts when it comes to practicals, according to Professor Charles Ongondo, the director of the KICD. He says, even though we are accused of asking learners to come with chicken, this has helped in learning. Our research shows public schools have ensured a lot of practicals. Some learners believe chicken come from supermarkets, he said. However, with learning in schools, the children have been exposed to practicals and are now engaging in house chores, including cooking and solving problems, thanks to the practical lessons in school. Kwa haya na mengine mengi katika Standard Nation hii leo. What's on the Business Daily and the Star?
There are many things, Guy. Very many things.
Tell us.
Of course, the headline in the Star mirrors the headline in the Standard.
Yeah.
And also in the Nation. Why Cherera and Nyangaya opted to resign. They give reasons why. But then when you delve into, bless you, the headline on the headline, there's never just one thing. There are many headlines on the headline, front page in other words. TSC boss takes boat ride to deliver exams to island. All right? Now, this is a picture where the TSC chief executive, Nancy Macharia, was on a boat ride to deliver papers to Marafiki High School on an island in Kilifi, North Sub-County yesterday. Yes. It isn't a boat with paddles. There was a motorboat.
So it's a motorboat.
Motorboat.
So do the children live on the island?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Some probably travel to the island to study.
Okay.
I think if we actually saw the picture of some of the places where students study and we go for exams, you'll be shocked. You know, one assumes one just wakes up and walks to school. That isn't quite the case. But, you know, when one looks inside the newspaper, I'm looking at the Star of interest. Blow to Kihika as court nullifies CEC nominations.
Oh, woo. Woo. Kihika is not having an easy time in this Nakuru, man.
Guy.
Eh.
You know, not Kihika. Sakaja doesn't have CECs.
Yeah, because of
Kihika doesn't have CECs. Meru Kawira Mwangasa does not have what? CECs.
She might even be impeached.
Mombasa,
waiting for public participation.
Somebody decided to go what route? He doesn't have CECs.
What on earth? The engine that's going to run the county doesn't exist.
Hey.
Omo.
His governors also
Governor Mwangasa was wise. She sought the president's intervention.
Tuombe.
Okay.
Hey. Anyway, you'll tell us more about that. Let's take a break. It's 26 to 7. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest biggest conversation. Have you bought your Kiwi black shoe polish? You need to. Because of why, Ndu?
You know what I did yesterday?
You did tell us.
When I left that meeting, see, we had a meeting yesterday.
Yes, we did have a meeting.
We did, eh? I actually I went to the supermarket and I had to,
buy a Kiwi.
I went to use my bonga points to buy things in the supermarket. Then I passed Kiwi. I said, you know what? Let me do this thing. Nikafanya hivo. Nikapewa ka credit.
Leta hiyo code. Uliweka code?
Sindio.
Ungeleta nikuweke kwa simu yangu.
I got airtime yesterday.
How much?
100 shillings. It was
straight,
fantastic.
instant.
Inside.
And then you were told that you were in the draw.
Then I have entered the draw for 35,000 shillings for school fees for January.
Tusikuangalia hapa.
Don't see me like that.
Hey.
Kiwi. It might make my dreams come true come January.
So buy Kiwi and then open the lead, get under the lead, you'll see that code, dial *459*5#. put in the code,
Do the business.
get
It works.
guaranteed instant airtime, and then get into the draw. Sawa basi.
Nikishinda takwa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord. Thank you very much. I've earned another title today, this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do. Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Hey, there's traffic in many parts of the city this morning, and we're looking at that starting to huddle up on the Thika Superhighway. It's actually quite tight as you get to that Pangani underpass. But before that, actually not too bad. We'll probably see traffic then beyond that junction of Outer Ring, heading out in towards Kiambu County. And speaking of Kiambu, let's look at Kiambu Road, which is not too bad right now. Actually, no traffic. This is the secret. If you want to get away from the drama that is Kiambu Road, now is the time to leave. Donge. Okay. We're also looking at Westlands. It's not too bad coming off James Gishuru and then going out towards Wayaki Way. Traffic has not started to be a thing just yet. The rains might come down, and so that's going to slow things down a little bit. So you might want to think about leaving now if you have plans to. Things are settling down as we go towards the holiday season where there's quietness. So traffic might not be too much of an issue, but it's Tuesday morning, and we're likely to see some here and there. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter and keep things moving this morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Mornings done.
Cholet Oswago jailed for 4 years.
Which Cholet?
For 1 point. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
1.3 billion shillings procurement scandal. There's so many stories I want to... Let's start with this one.
Start with that one.
The Anti-Corruption Court in Nairobi has sentenced former Electoral Commission officials James Oswago and Wilson Kiprotich Cholet to 4 years in prison each for corruption in relation to procurement of 1.3 billion shillings voter identification devices in 2013. The two were the first top officials of the IEBC to be convicted for corruption-related charges. Chief Magistrate Felix Combo, however, gave Oswago and Cholet an alternative of paying a fine of 7.5 million shillings each. Meting out the sentences, the magistrate noted that Oswago, who was the CEO, and Cholet, the Deputy Commission Secretary in charge of support services at the IEBC, were first offenders and had cooperated with the investigators and prosecutors during the court trial. They were found guilty of 2 counts of abuse of office and failure to comply with the law relating to procurement of the electoral voter identification devices for the March 2013 general election. During the trial that started in October 2013, the prosecution produced 31 witnesses and 108 documents to support its case. The court found that Oswago and Cholet failed to ensure that the changes made to the contract awarded to Face Technologies Limited for the supply of EVID were approved by the IEBC's tender committee. According to the magistrate, the court has considered the challenges associated with the elections. Both elections must be handled with care. Elections must be handled with care. Mr. Oswago and Mr. Cholet were not faithful in the procurement process, leading to a crisis. He ruled that the pair, being officers whose functions concern the management of public revenue, jointly and willfully failed to comply with the law relating to the procurement of goods according to Section 47 of the Public Procurement and Disposal Act and Regulation 31 of the Public Procurement and Disposal Regulations. As a result, the BVR kits supplied by them, this Face Technologies, were faulty and failed to function on election day in various parts of the country. Okay, and because of that, 1 + 1 became 11. And the court noted that the Electoral Commission did not give approval for amendment or variation of the contract, which resulted in these anomalies on election day. And it was because they said, took money.
Wow. 4 years.
4 years.
Each.
Or you pay 7.5 million shillings each.
How long has the case been going on?
Since 2013. It's been 9 years.
Wow.
Since October 2013 for an election that took place in March 2013.
Wow. There was a second story.
Yes, it was an education story. No, it was not an education story. It was a story of the murder of this family.
Tell us about that.
Okay. Quite a tragic story which we saw blow up on social media. The last time Moses Mushemi spoke to his sister Njoki Mushemi, they discussed fencing their family home in Kiamaina village in Kirinyaga County. At the time of the phone call, they were a family in grief after the burial of their father, Jeffrey Migwi, on November 12th, 2022. Now, barely a fortnight after that conversation, they've been hit by another tragedy. Gary Stanton, 60, Njoki, 49, and their two daughters, Andriana Stanton, 17, and Brianna Stanton, 11, were discovered dead in their home in Kentucky in the U.S. in what the police say was a murder-suicide. Southwest Jefferson County Police said preliminary investigations point to domestic violence that ended in a murder-suicide. Mushemi, a younger brother to Njoki, is still in shock over the news of his sister's death and that of her entire family. They were the model family, a couple who never had fights, and we are still in shock on what could have transpired. Speaking from his home in Kerugoya town, Mushemi said the couple were admired and had a model marriage. Just a few days before the tragedy, Stanton took to Facebook to wish his wife a happy birthday, describing her as the love of his life. They were very open and transparent with each other. I noticed that my sister even had access to his phone and bank account details. Mushemi described his sister as a hard-working and loving mother with a family that everybody would want. Her death and that of her daughters, he says, caught the family by surprise. She and her husband were conservative, they were well off and had plans to start their own healthcare company. They lived the best life and everybody in the family admired them. She had started off her career as a manager in the company and then resigned and joined politics in 2007. She left and went to the US where she met Stanton, who was a mechanic. He was a handyman of sorts and he would carry out plumbing jobs and other odd jobs to make ends meet. According to Mushemi, his brother-in-law loved his family and had no problem sharing with his wife mobile phone passwords and bank account details. Mushemi said the couple was last in Kenya in October during the burial of their father. He described his brother-in-law as a doting father who loved children and would often take them out to the park. So, he said that Stanton contributed immensely to the high cost of transporting his father's body from the US for burial in Kenya. Everything went well and he helped out. He said he was the perfect husband who went out of his way to ensure his wife and children lived well. When he left for the US, he would call Njoki daily to check on her. He left her behind for 1 week and would call her every day, sometimes call him if his wife was not picking up the phone. Everything was okay, according to them. He believes Stanton would also have let him know if they were having problems. He said they used to chat regularly about many things. He said they are yet to decide where the family's remains will be interred, and added that his mother and eldest sister had traveled to the US to identify the bodies. So looking through the story, what we're hearing is there is no reason why he would have done this. Everything seemed to be going well.
Okay.
From investigations from the police, it was clear that Njoki was killed, as well as her two daughters, and then Stanton then took his own life.
Hey. It's a bizarre story.
It is, because
and
all
also
indications.
Very, very sad.
Yeah.
Very, very sad, because this is, for this Moses Mushemi, he's basically looking at his sister and
His nieces.
all.
A month after burying their father.
Yeah. The neighbors as well, even in the stories coming out of the States, are also just wondering, okay, so what happened here?
Because they seem to be living a jolly good life.
That always is the question, really.
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened?
What brought this about? You know, as we talk about this, the discussion, I think, dovetails and comes right back to Kenya in this sense. We ourselves are not out of the woods at all. The issue of mental illness in this country isn't going away.
No, it isn't.
The problem surrounding mental illness.
And it's not being addressed.
No. In fact, it's been swept under the rug. Everything and anything is being spoken of except this one thing. Because if we look through the papers, we will find a story where someone has been killed. Someone has killed. Something bizarre has happened. We will find.
It's a sad one. City, what are you looking at?
Let me tell you what I'm looking at. This one is found on page 22, International News of the Daily Nation.
Okay.
Outrage as Trump calls to terminate the Constitution. Trump here being Donald Trump, the immediate former president of the U.S. Donald Trump's suggestion that the United States disregard rules and regulations, including those found in the Constitution, drew scathing rebukes this weekend from politicians in both parties, with a top Democrat calling it a danger to our democracy. What many saw as a bizarre proposal from a singularity unconventional former president came in his latest social media posts, hammering away at baseless conspiracy theories about the 2020 elections, which he lost to Joe Biden. Given what he claimed was massive and widespread fraud and deception involving technology companies and the Democratic Party, do you throw the presidential election result of the 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type, I'm reading a quotation which is attributed to one Trump, I would refer to him as Brother Trump, the former president of the United States. A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of rules and regularities and articles, even those found in the Constitution, he said, on his Truth Social platform. This is what is being quoted. Attacking the Constitution and all it stands for is an anathema to the soul of our nation and should be condemned, says the White House. So, Trump is trumpeting away.
Indeed.
Okay. I mean, it's nothing new. We have in other parts of the world where people are organizing demos on the same. Elections were stolen, and these constitutional institutions did not even do their job. Fact. Anyway, so let me tell you a story. It's an interesting one. This one is on page 2 of the Standard. It's quoting from Njenga Karume's memoirs, Beyond Expectations, From Charcoal to Gold. All right? There are many slips between the ribs and the lips, which almost ruined Jomo Kenyatta's chances of being the country's first ever prime minister in 1963. The constitution had been drafted to create the post of a prime minister who was to work with Malcolm MacDonald, the colonial governor, even as London retained foreign affairs and national defense dockets. There was a problem, though. Jomo Kenyatta was not a member of parliament. Gatundu was not a constituency then, and none of the lawmakers were willing to sacrifice their seats. For who? Jomo who? Kenyatta. In a bid to look for a pliable MP who would surrender a seat to Kenyatta, a meeting was planned in June 1963. The targeted MP, Kariuki Wanjiri, was representing Kisumu at the time, was invited for the meeting, which was disguised as a goat-eating party. Since I did not want to attract any special attention, I asked a patriot, Robert Njenga, to slaughter a ram for Wazee at his home in Karura, rather than holding a party at my house. This is what the late Njenga Karume recalls in his book. The meeting was attended by Nyeri, Mwai Kibaki, Bernard Hinga, Robert Njenga, Dr. Monyo Wayaki, and Henry Wareithi. Karume, who had a reputation of carving meat, was asked to slice up the meat, but he was surprised when Mwai Kibaki joined him in the kitchen. As I was slicing, one of the friends, a mischievous young man, said he was going to the kitchen too. Kibaki asked Karume to cut up the ribs first so that they could eat as they sliced up the rest of the goat. So here is a nyama. Kibaki told him, now as we are slicing up this nyama, see, we just start with the ribs. Start with the ribs first. Karume bought into the idea, and within no time, the two had devoured a substantial chunk of the ribs as their friends chatted and drank beer in another section of the house. We ended up eating all the ribs in the other room. Dr. Monyo Wayaki was getting hungry and he decided that we were taking too long. He was shocked to find that the meat was gradually disappearing. Kibaki then tried to rope in Wayaki into the conspiracy, telling him, Uma kidogo. Took a top cop, Hinga, to scuttle the plot. When he caught the three eating meat, he shouted, "These rogues have eaten everything." Hiya, another story. Page 3 of the Standard. This is about three individuals, all right? Mm-hmm. One is called Mwikali. Another one is called Babu. And another one is called... hold on. I'm going to give you... Said. Mm-hmm. Mwikali, Babu, Said. Mwikali is expectant. Mwikali goes to hospital to deliver the baby, to be delivered of the baby. Mm-hmm. Mwikali undergoes a cesarean section operation. And she says she was in a state of delirium when she was giving details for the son's birth certificate. So at that point, after she's gotten the baby, she's asked by the nurses, all right, so who do we put the name, blah, 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 blah. She said, Said. Okay. After recovering, she discovered that a stranger had been registered as her son's father. This Said name is the wrong name. The High Court has ordered the Registrar of Births to remove strange father from a minor's birth certificate. The case involves a 6-year-old boy who supposedly has two fathers. While the minor has a biological father, the other one registered on his birth certificate is different. Justice John Onyego said it's unfair for the registrar to decline to rectify the birth certificate even after DNA tests ascertained who the father of the boy is. Baby Babu and Mwikali, the boy's parent, sued the registrar for refusing to remove the name Said from the minor's birth certificate. Babu is the boy's biological father, yet Said was registered as the father on the certificate. The boy was born in November 2016 when Babu was out of the country. Mm-hmm. Upon his return, he discovered that another man had been registered as the father of his child. Mwikali did not know the person indicated as their son's father.
Really?
And could not remember giving any particulars of such a man to the nurses.
Of course not.
She says she was in a state of delirium. When she
in a state of delirium, and the first name that comes to your head is Said. Okay.
She didn't Said.
Okay.
So they went to the registrar and they said, please change. Registrar said, my friend. So this is what the registrar said. Babu and Mwikali said attempts to have the erroneous registration rectified by the registrar hit a brick wall. They conducted a DNA test to prove paternity, but the registrar refused to yield. Owing to the error, Babu could not take care of his son's medical insurance and education needs. The registrar argued that the responsibility of giving the correct details of a newborn baby lies with the parent, and that it was Mwikali who gave the name Said, and therefore it was believed to be a true account. Mm-hmm. The registrar said that he could not rely on the DNA results produced by Babu and Mwikali because they had done the test on their own without the supervision of the court. He argued that the Section 14 of Births and Deaths Registration Act gives Kenyans a 2-year grace period to amend or alter a name of a child, and that had lapsed. He said if the case is allowed, other applicants would demand to have their names amended.
And what
now, after that, they went to court.
What is the problem?
Yes.
They went to court, and now the court said, all right, so let's supervise the DNA.
Yes.
So the DNA wasn't supervised. It was conducted by the government chemist, and it has proved that Babu is the father.
Me, I have one question. Who is Said?
Actually, why are we looking at what is supposedly to have been said by the mother? What if the person who was taking the details is the one who made a mistake?
Is the one who had their own things.
Yes.
Who had Said as opposed to Nani?
Babu.
Babu.
I said Babu.
I said Babu.
You right Said.
You said, oh, really? Okay.
Baba mtoto nani? Said.
Said. Oh, okay. Babu.
Yeah, Said.
No. Babu mtoto nani?
Said.
Babu. Amesema Babu. Wewe umeandika Said.
I said Babu. Okay, Said. Yes, I said Said.
Said.
So,
who is Saido?
Yeah.
Who is Said? Mwikali knows who Said is. Babu also knows who Said is.
You know,
Lakini cheers to the baby.
On a birth certificate, you don't give one name. Okay.
In fact, when you're filling in that paper, I've done it thrice. When you're filling in that paper, they say, no.
Yeah, lazima majina
but
ikweli.
believe me, you can also have a blank.
Could have been Said Abubakar and Babu Abubakar.
Yeah.
It could, believe me, you can also.
You can just chew a blank at that
Yes.
point.
It's true. It's true.
Man comes back.
Him at least he had side. What about people who arrive, the mother's name is there, the father blank? What do you do?
At least that one is just filling the gap. It's not changing.
Ask again. Said. They both know who Said is. But because we need to put the thing properly, we'll ask for a change.
But it's interesting that what Babu is saying. Because you see, this child, I am not anywhere on this child official documents. So I cannot even put them under
my health insurance, whatever.
Yeah. What? It was in
Yeah. Salala.
Before you go under, that's when they should ask you.
Exactly.
This baby that will come out.
Who's the father?
Yeah.
Don't worry. You can get affidavit.
There's such a thing called, excuse me, sir,
Courty,
Emperor and Your Eminence. There is such a thing called latent consciousness.
Latent consciousness. Okay.
Umesikia hiyo?
Kuna Said kwenye latency pale. What's on the front page of the Business Daily, City Muga?
This one is one of those things which I will read, but I will not go beyond reading because I don't understand half of the stuff they're talking about. Foreign investors trading on NSE halves in 1 week.
NFC what?
Foreign investors did what?
Foreign investors trading at the Nairobi Stock Exchange halves in 1 week, meaning they were one. They are now half. Half of one is half. Okay? Half of two is one.
Okay. I had not understood.
Got it?
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
There's this other guy called Browse. Browse shared 31.2 billion yesterday on low demand.
Browse or Boaz?
Yeah, sorry, it's Bourse.
It's Bourse.
Bourse. Bourse.
Guy.
Okay. Sorry.
Guy.
Bourse shared 31.2 billion shillings yesterday on low demand. Foreign investors, the guys are still back at it. Dealing fall 28.9% from 58.9. Man, I don't understand these things. I'm not going to read them further. Forget it. I'm going to look for a story I understand and which
You
I
know
can.
what Titi said? There's this other guy called Bro.
Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next time. We'll also tell you about Santam Real Estate and their Vipingo development in Vipingo, Kilifi County, where you can buy an apartment, studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or villa. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenyan MPs have been urged to shun divisive politics, which makes them be torn between criticizing and supporting the government. Speaking at the opening of the National Assembly Majority Party Parliamentary Conference, President William Ruto says it's ironic for leaders who are in government to work against it.
If there are any issues that are of concern to any one of us. We have the parliamentary group meetings. We have caucuses like this one. We can sit here and be able to correct ourselves. If there are issues that are of concern to members, we can do it in-house here. But when we live here united to prosecute the agenda of the government that we set up. There's always a temptation to say this government belongs to the president, maybe, and his deputy, because there's a temptation for somebody to say my government. That's why I have chosen, whenever you hear me speaking, I say the government of Kenya. And the closest I go is to say our government.
On his part, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua urged MPs to prioritize the construction of classrooms for students of grade 7, 8 and 9 soon after they receive the NGCDF funds.
During your recess, to go and plan with the teachers and the BOMs on how using the money from the national government fund, the CDF, how to put up the junior secondary school. And we want to lead by example. If this divide of our politics starts by way of example, because we are government, using CDF funds to put up the junior secondary school within a very short time, the rest of the country will follow suit. The CBC in itself is not a bad thing, but it was rushed without public participation. And when the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms went round, 86% of Kenyans spoke very strongly that is where the junior secondary school should be domiciled.
And Azimio la Umoja leaders say that tomorrow's meeting in Kamkunji grounds, as well as the 12th of December rally, is still on despite the fallout of the two commissioners. Led by Kenya leader Martha Karua, they say that they'll be exercising their constitutional right, which allows them to hold public protest. Azimio said that the right granted by the constitution cannot be derogated by anyone, including the courts and any other authority.
We wish to affirm that the Kamukunji event is a public consultative forum. The rights to demonstrate are enshrined in the Constitution, but the Kamukunji meeting is a consultative meeting, and we want to make it very clear that the meeting will be a coming together of Kenyans to share views on the state of affairs in the country. The meeting is in line with Article 37 of the Constitution on the right to assemble, right to demonstrate, picket, and to petition.
Azmi further questioned the integrity of the Kenya Kwanza government, saying that there was a trend of individuals with criminal backgrounds being appointed to critical public service positions and government.
We are concerned about the very brazen attack on Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Brazen because the accused are being appointed to critical public offices that have immense bearing on whether we grow or stagnate as a country. We are seeing a pattern where people facing serious criminal cases like money laundering, fraud, giving kickbacks, such people are being appointed to critical positions, including leadership of the very institutions that have taken them to court.
Now, Kimilili MP Didmus Baraza says that there was no reason for Juliana Cherera to resign, as if she was doing the right thing. In a statement, the lawmaker said that Cherera's resignation was an indication that she was at fault. Elsewhere, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei has said that the resignation of the former IEBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and Commissioner Justice Nyang'aya have thrown Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga's plan to hold public rallies into limbo. Now, former IEBC CEO James Oswago and Deputy Commissioner Wilson Tolshole have been fined 7.5 million shillings each of 4 years jail term in default over 1.3 billion shillings chicken gate scandal. The two were convicted of graft in relation to procurement of voter identification devices in 2013. Magistrate Felix Kombo found them guilty of failing to comply with the law relating to the procurement. They also failed to ensure that the changes made to their contract awarded to Face Technologies Limited for the supply of electronic voter identification were approved by the IEBC's tender committee. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4. Get to see the world through a new lens and capture the moments that truly matter.
SpiceFM. Nakuru.
Is not one of the issues that we're going to be having this morning. It looks like it's flowing freely in several parts of the city this morning. Getting in and out of the CBD is not looking too difficult right now. And then the CBD decided to, the Thika Superhighway decided to overturn everything that I've just said, because now there's traffic and it's coming from the Outer Ring Junction, well beyond that actually, and then heading out towards the Pangani Underpass. And Kiambu Road has also started. Limuru Road is doing the thing. All those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Parkland Avenues also have some traffic as you're trying to get into the city. James Gishuru looks pretty good, coming off of Waiaki Way and then into Spring Valley and the belly of Peponi Road, Kitsuru. All of that looks good for now. We see some traffic on Mombasa Road, and that's just at that drift at Imara Daima, and then out towards General Motors, where there's that, I don't know what is happening right there at that roundabout, but it's closed, it's open, it's closed. After that, you're fine. Outer Ring has some traffic, and it's going to touch on Manyanja. It'll touch on Kangundo, Juja, and Savannah roads this morning. So we'll keep an eye on things, and we're also seeing traffic building up on Jogo Road. That's what it looks like for now. Let's circle back in about half hour. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room,
It's 7 minutes
the
after 7.
only
Good
way to
morning and
start your
welcome to
day.
the second hour of The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are live on SpiceFM, on KTN News, on YouTube and Facebook, and we have a guest in the studio. Before we welcome the guest into the studio, let me tell you about what Centum Real Estate and what they're doing in Kilifi County. That land called Revipingo, initial, is now Centum. And Centum took the entirety of that land, and they are doing a mixed-use development. It's going to be an industrial park. It's going to have residential areas. They started with residential areas. So what they decided to do, number one, let's invest in making sure that there's adequate water being supplied into this area. Invested in a giant desalination plant, getting water from Bahari Aishi, water from the ocean.
Clean it up.
Bring it. Desalinate it, clean it up, pump it into the estate. I've taken that water. It's better than Mzima Springs water.
Put it this way, you've taken the water and you're still alive.
I'm alive.
Okay. Living proof.
Clear. Maji Eco. Steamer. This thing will require proper power. So they have proper power supply with the substation there, proper power. They've put up houses, and the first 500 houses have already been done and handed over to their owners.
Excellent.
Imagine. They are now on phase 2 of this, and for 2.45 million shillings, you get ample parking, play areas and playgrounds for your children, green parks and reliable water. And the homes are just 500 meters off the Mombasa Malindi Highway, which is currently being what? Dualed. Dual. Itakuwa kama hii. Express.
Excellent.
Okay.
Kwa nini usinunue?
Dual carriageway kutoka Mombasa kwenda Malindi.
Have they begun
Yes.
to work on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Already they have actually, at that Vipingo area, they're already working on the dual part.
And the water is not salty.
And the water is clear.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, and the power is good. And they're doing now these apartments here. So the apartments start from 2.45 million shillings, and you can get a studio, a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, or a 3-bedroom apartment. Phase 1 is done, as we've said. All you need now is a deposit of about 245,000 shillings, and then you start your journey towards home ownership. Wapi? Kilifi. You have a coast house.
Okay.
Come to my coast villa.
Holiday home.
Holiday home.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Sure.
If you want to get more details, please SMS the word Vipingo to 22365. That's the word Vipingo to 22365. Or you can call 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215. Investment namna hiyo. Before we welcome Prof to the show, CT, let him hear the proverb.
Professor, every day we have a proverb, but we normally take the proverbs from any particular country on the continent. And so for that whole week, we read proverbs or we extract proverbs from that particular country. This week, we're in the country of Sierra Leone. Okay. Sierra Leone borders Guinea, which was the country that we derived proverb from last week. It's also next to Liberia. It's also next to the Atlantic Ocean. Quarrels end. Words once spoken never die.
Quarrels end.
Yes. Words once spoken never die.
Never die. That's the proverb for today.
That's it. Professor Romanus Dhiambo, Vice Chancellor, Meru University of Science and Technology. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation and the hot seat of the Situation Room. Karibu Nairobi.
Asante.
Okay. When you hear that proverb from Sierra Leone, what's your interpretation of it?
Well, it says that quarrels ends and words once spoken never die. And to me, when I reflect on that, is that we should be very speculative before we speak something. We should actually mean what we say, so that because what comes out of your mouth will actually stay. It will outlive you. But quarrels ends. Today we quarrel, tomorrow we are friends. That's to me what I take out of it. Yes.
In that moment of anger, be careful what you say.
Be careful what you say. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Asante sana. Tell us about Meru University of Science and Technology. Where is it? How old is it?
This is very excellent. And once again, good morning, Kenyans. My name is Professor Romanus Dhiambo, the Vice Chancellor of Meru University of Science and Technology. Meru was born as a constituent college of JKU in the year 2009. Before then, it was a TTI, a technical college. And on 1st of March 2013, the Meru University of Science and Technology was actually born, fully chartered. And we are in Meru County, the road between, that is Meru Maua Road, just next to the Nyeri Cultural Center. Our leaders, our cultural leaders, for which we are very grateful, they did donate the land, about 600 acres, to the university where the university is. We are going to celebrate our 10th year celebrations on 1st of March next year. I went there about 4 years ago, and I found we had 4,500 students. Today we have about 11,000 students, and we really thank God for that and the support that Kenyans have got. And we get students from all over the country. I have students from Lamu, I have students from Pokot, I have students from Migori, where I come from. I have students from, name it, Kajiado, kila mahali. We are truly, truly national. That's what we are saying. And of course, we celebrate. I know Kenyans think that Nairobi is the center of Kenya. We celebrate ourselves as the university in the northern hemisphere of Kenya, because the equator, we're just after the equator passes in Kubu, and Meru just there, the slopes of Mount Kenya. A great, serene, green place to be. Clean air. Watching hii yenu ya Nairobi hapa. It's just enjoyable, and we also celebrate that we are the maternity of elephants. When they are expectant, they move over to the forest in Meru, just next to our gate where they give birth.
Right.
That's what we are. Just like animals from Tanzania come to give birth in Kenya. So most of them come to give birth, the elephants come to give birth in Meru. That's what we are.
So these are elephants coming from the Meru Forest?
Meru Forest, yes.
Just near your university?
Yes, we celebrate it.
Oh,
Professor, you haven't mentioned one thing.
Yes.
Plenty of food.
We are also, Meru, we know how to eat food and we eat well. There's a lot of food in Meru, very excellent people. I know we are normally depicted as mira-chewing people, but that's just one of our fun. But then we have a lot of food, all kinds, be it tea, be it coffee, be it maize roasting, be it goat ribs, eating. We have all kind of food. That's what we celebrate also in Meru. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
11,000 students.
Yes.
How many faculties do you have?
Meru University of Science and Technology is a science and technology university. We have 8 schools. We have what we call the School of Agriculture and Food Science, doing very well in all the kind of courses that you have in agriculture. We also have School of Education. We are perhaps one of the only 2 or 3 universities that do education science, education art, but very importantly, training teachers for our TTIs and TVET, courses that of late are very, very essential. The current presidency really promote that. So we also have what we call education technology, training teachers to go and teach in TTIs, almost like the CBC teachers. So we are one of the few universities that are doing that. That's the second school. The third school is School of Engineering and Architecture. Again, people may think that we do conventional engineering. Our engineering is actually Bachelor of Technology, the hands-on. They do Bachelor of Technology in Electrical Electronic Engineering, Bachelor of Technology in Civil Engineering, Bachelor of Technology in Mechanical Engineering, and soon to be launched Bachelor of Technology in Architecture. And we also soon to launch is Bachelor of Technology in Mechatronics. That is C. The fourth school is SAN.
Hold on, before you go on.
Yeah.
Because you've said this is a different one. So the others we know Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Electrical Electronic.
Excellent.
And this is Bachelor of Technology in Electrical Electronic. What's the difference?
Serious difference. This is just like asking questions. We have been doing 844. Old people like us used to do, we used to go to 7 years primary, 4 years secondary, and then 2 years high school and wherever. And now we are talking about the CBC. The question is, what is the difference? In the BTech, emphasis is on not only the knowledge, but also the skill, the hands. The skill, the people who do things with the psychomotor. In the science, it's more of a science, more of the knowledge, the science of doing things. So when you look at technologies, theirs is that the scientists have already discovered something, have already conceptualized something, but you want somebody to come and really manage those things, use them and all the rest. That's the difference. World over right now, outside there, be it in the US, be it in Europe, be it in North America, be it in Asia and everywhere, the real people that really counts outside there are not the scientists, are the technologies. It's almost the same like the 844 and CBC.
And the CBC.
Yes.
Okay, next school.
Now, the next school that we have is SKY, School of Computing and Informatics, and we brag as doing all kind of computing science, but also the only university in East and Central Africa that has some of the most important courses. I know Kenyans don't know this. We have right now people talk about data analytics, the BSc Data Science. I think I'm the only university that is offering that in East and Central Africa right now. That is the aim thing. Be it the people talk about data analytics and all the rest. We also have a course in BSc Cybersecurity and Forensic Science. I think we could be only 2 or 3 in East and Central Africa. Besides the conventional computer science course, the BSc IT, the BSc Computer Technology, and all kind of them. And then we do this from certificate, diploma, up to PhD. One very important thing that Meru University has and other universities do not have is what we call the articulations, that you can do a certificate and after some time you come to diploma and you don't start in year 1 because they are made such a way that they feed in each other. You can do a diploma in such a way that when you come to BSc, you articulate, you jump to the next level because they are made in such a way that they feed each other. And that's the new thing in the world, that the programs are well articulated at the articulation program. So we have that, what is called the SKY. The other school is School of Health Sciences. Now, the School of Health Sciences is basically a precursor of our School of Medicine yet to be. We have a dream that we are going to have a school and college of medicine. And the School of Medicine, or Health Sciences, we have BSc Clinical Medicine. Now, BSc Clinical Medicine are basically for doctors what we call the physician assistant. Most of the time, all the places in Kenya, the doctors you see are actually clinicians. So we train people in BSc Clinical Medicine. We also have public health and many, many other things. And the next school is SUN, School of Nursing. I brag as the best school of nursing. I know Kenyans don't know this in Kenya. And we have the general BSc nursing, and then the middle nursing, those the mature entry nursing, and we are also right now, we are just working on I think perhaps will be the second universities in East and Central Africa that are going to have BSc in midwifery. Because normally midwifery has been part and parcel of nursing, but then there's a lot of needs. So we have that, and also we are also going to have a MSc in nursing. The final schools almost getting there is School of Pure and Applied Science. Being a science and technology university, you'd expect that you have professors that also infuse the science and technology and innovation ideas to some of these thematic professional courses. So in that school, we have mathematics. I'm a professor of mathematical statistics. We have we have Department of Physics, Chemistry, name it, biology, zoology, botany, biochemistry, microbiology, and all that kind of thing. But also under the School of Health Sciences, I've forgotten, we have some of the state-of-the-art facilities for producing real scientists comparable to Cambridge. And men, listen to this. If you mess around there, we can do the paternity test to know whether the child. We can do the diagnostic test for the infectious diseases. We can do cancer tests, the DNA sequencing, name it. We have this kind of facilities. And that's why my council, and I really appreciate my council for allowing me to travel here to talk with you guys. The council is trying to depict Mary University of Science and Technology, not only as a center of science and technology, but also a center of excellence in science and technology, especially in real serious science like cancer science, the infectious diseases science, name it, because we have all these kind of facilities in Meru. I think the last school I would like to talk about is the school that we all know. Everywhere you go, there's School of Business and Economics. These are the BCom, name it. But we need this in a science and technology university so that they can also infuse business ideas, social ideas, entrepreneurial ideas to our professionals that graduate in a science and technology university. Thank you very much.
Professor.
Yes.
Everything you've said so far tells me one thing. All the old universities, probably the ones you studied in, were you a student at the University of Nairobi? Or were you a student at Kenyatta University? Which university did you study in? Because clearly, the university you studied in, you are set to overtake them. Because none of these universities, with the exception of JKUAT, can claim to have the sort of faculties that you have when it comes to the mechanical sciences. None of them can talk about how you've infused what we may call the natural sciences of medicine in and brought in
the social
sciences, yes, which are a key component in understanding and actualizing them.
Yes.
Now, the question I want to ask, is the university planning to have a medical school?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm a Kenyan-bred professor. I learned in a very funny school in the village between Kenya and Tanzania at the border. And just barefooted, no uniform.
Which school?
It's not known.
I have worked
school.
in Migori. That is why I asked.
Kitabai.
Kitabai Primary School.
Yeah.
You will see. People will comment here and say,
and then from there, I went to one of the best schools during our time, Kantunga Musocho.
Yes.
High school.
Yes.
We used to thrust people in this country academically. And then from there...
And basketball.
Yeah, everything, not just basketball, even getting some of the best girlfriends, you know.
Right.
And then from there, we were 28. And some of the best doctors, some of the best engineers in this country were actually our classmates after Form 6. But me, I decided to be a teacher in Kenyatta University. So you are right. I went to Kenyatta University to do double mathematics and education. So I'm a teacher, bred and brought up in Kenyatta University as a teacher, trained teacher, first-class guy. And then I did Master of Science in Statistics there and a PhD statistics there. Then after that, I moved to Jomo Kenyatta to be a lecturer. For the last 30 years, I've been Jomo Kenyatta as their professor. So yes, you are right that there seemed to be some resemblance between Meru University of Science and Technology, the then Constituent College of JKUAT, and now a full-fledged university the last 9.5 years. So yes, it is true. So back to your question, what did you say that...
What I want to ask is, I've listened to what you're saying. Yes.
School of Medicine.
Yes, School of Medicine.
I'm going to say that, do you know, Nairobi University runs School of Medicine. Moi does. Everybody does. But you see you Kenyans, the problem I have with you is that you always think that Nairobi is the center of Kenya. There, 50% of Kenya lie from Meru up to Ethiopia, Somali, and Sudan. And all those guys, they are also Kenyans. We want to start a School of Medicine for those places. By the way, you don't know this, my brother, that the highest cancer prevalence in this country is actually found in Meru. A lot of diseases, particularly domicile in those parts of Kenya, are actually there. And universities, if you study the history of universities were started to bring a solution to problems. And this can only come when you have a school dedicated to that. So yes, we are actually in the next 3 or 4 years, we'll have School of Medicine, specifically dedicated to investigating cancer, investigating some of the normal disease problem, infectious diseases that are found in those sites which are not found this side. And that is something that we are really working towards to. Thank you.
I think it's interesting that you talk about, not the realization that, Nairobi is not the world and the world is not Nairobi. When we're looking at Kenya, we've had conversations before when looking at things like devolution and saying that, it's then important to take the centers of power away from Nairobi. Education could be one way to do that. And you talk about a center or an institution that is doing a lot of these things. So beyond the education, seeing it as an opportunity also to open up that part of Kenya for very many things, so that anybody who's looking for a quality education doesn't have to go to your historic centers of education, which unfortunately are domiciled in the capital.
I agree with you. Let me tell you, Kenyans, I've had our good president, and congratulations to His Excellency His Excellency Dr. Ruto, for being the president of this country. I've heard people talk about South Korea, people talk of Malaysia, people talk of, the industrialized countries. And one of the reasons these people are really industrialized and doing very well is the proportions of people that have university degrees. People don't think about this. What I've heard is a bit about pedestrian. Sorry, this is a bit hard for Kenyans to understand. Pedestrian argument that we don't require so many universities. Yet the proportion of Kenyans with degrees is not more than 9%.
Yep.
Those countries we are comparing ourselves are 25 to almost 40% with the degrees. And there is a direct resemblance in terms of development between the people who are graduate degree holders and those who are not. And coming back to Kenya, I think we are still very far. I've heard people saying we have so many universities. We don't have. If we really want to move, universities are actually not only avenues of making people really have education and so that they create jobs, but it's also an avenue of creating employment, changing communities, transforming community and impacting communities. I went to Jomo Kenyatta as a young person, almost 30 years. That is over 30 years ago. And if those of us, I see you guys here, you're a bit young, apart from 1 or 2. Those of us who knew Jomo Kenyatta and you go to there and then see a city, you marvel. Yep. Go to Moi University in the wilderness somewhere. Go there and see. Universities are also institutions that bring transformation to these communities. And I don't think what we are saying, what we need to empower institutions, they'll create jobs, they'll introduce learning that will eventually produce people that create also jobs for other people. And that's what I can say for now.
Let's take a break.
Yes.
We'll continue this conversation shortly. It's 7:30. We are having a conversation with the Vice Chancellor of the Nyeri University of Science and Technology. You call it MUST.
Must. Thank you. You know it. You're a good disciple.
Professor Romanus Odhiambo is here with us in the studio. We are talking about Nyeri University of Science and Technology, research, innovation, commercialization in Kenyan universities. What is it that we need to see happening in our universities? Ndu,
yes.
Please tell the good prof about this 30, how much? 7,500.
Communication is an issue, isn't it, for a lot of people? And we're looking at Samsung. Samsung has this fantastic Z Flip 4. Samsung Z Flip 4. And it's the season of discounts.
Flip it.
Look at that.
This is
technology.
Gender.
You're talking about technology. You're talking about commercialization of
the way
universities.
I'm seeing that for the first time.
Can you imagine?
Let him hold it.
You can even hold it. Now flip it. In order for you to get onto the flip side of things, Samsung is saying this December, because of Black November, we'll have an opportunity to get this phone at 37,500 shillings less. That's a discount. Isn't that great? In these times, 37,500 shillings less. So ordinarily, if you were to walk in like I did for 150,000 shillings, less 37,500. So now all you need to look for is 112,500, and you'll be able to walk onto the flip side of life.
Right.
Cindy-o? Very good.
This is beautiful.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry. Hapo.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 25 and lows of 16. It's sunny at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 27 and lows of 12. And we'll see highs of 23. In a partly sunny Nyeri at 15, coming down to lows of 13. We'll see highs of 25 in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 14 and lows of 12. Partly sunny conditions at 26 in Mombasa, highs of 32. And we'll see highs of 32 as well in a partly sunny Malindi at 26. It's 19 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28 and highs of 28 in a sunny Kakamega at 18. 19 and rain showers coming down in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 18, and partly sunny at 27 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 32 and lows of 26. It's partly sunny at 15 in Johannesburg, highs of 24 and lows of 13 and 27, and clear in Lagos with highs of 33. We'll see highs of 31 in a rainy Kinshasa at 25, coming down to lows of 23.
spice up your life.
North Airport Road is creeping along, going towards Outer Ring, and it's going to slow down some as you go out towards the Eastern Bypass. And so quite some traffic there, all the way to the AP Training College Junction, and thereafter trying to then spill into Utawala. We're looking at traffic on Lunga Lunga, and that's heavy, as well as Jogo Road. Manyanja Road is very heavy this morning. That's not been that way for some time. All this seeping into Outer Ring. It's also seeping in from Kangunda Road as well as Juja Road this morning. Everybody going out towards Outer Ring, and then it comes off onto the Thika Superhighway. So that's heavy. It's also heavy on Kiambu Road. See, I told you guys 6:30 was the time to leave. Now it's after 7, and traffic has piled up quite some on Kiambu Road. It's also doing the same thing on Limuru Road. Coming out of Westlands, looks pretty busy right about now. And Ring Road Westlands is also starting to pile up. So it looks like no matter where you are, north, south, east, or west in the city, which we are told is not just the only place in Nairobi, in Kenya. We'll look at other parts in a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, talk to us there. Let's keep things moving.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Professor Romanus Othiambo, Vice Chancellor of the Meru University of Science and Technology, is our guest this morning on Spice FM, live on KTN News and Spice FM, and also online. We're talking about research, innovation, and commercialization of Kenyan universities. Prof, you've said, no, we actually don't even have enough universities in the country. Just dispelling that whole argument by people who are saying, honey, how many universities can I have? How many universities do we even have just in Meru County alone? Surely. If you look at Mount Kenya, how many universities do we have in Mount Kenya region? Sheesh, not enough, you say. However, the thing that has also been a big issue of conversation recently is on funding universities and making universities be able to run the best way they could with the kind of money that they get. There's money that comes in capitation from the government. There's money that comes from people paying direct school fees, and there's money from other sources. Do you find that the current mix of funding universities is sufficient, is the best?
Thank you very much. This is very timely. Kenyans, the money that currently public universities get is actually not enough. It's less than 50%. The funding model in the universities is called DUC, Differentiated Unit Cost. That means that this differentiated unit cost says that the government has to give some money. Actually, 80% should come from the government. Then the 20% should come from the household. The household is you, the parent, you, the sponsor, you, any good, somebody who want to support somebody. And for a long time, this started back, the 20% from 1992, actually, with the household pay for the university, it translates to 16,000 per year. And so if you look at it in terms of semester, that's 8,000 per year. That is the fees from 1992 up to now that my students and all the students in public university pay, 8,000.
Per semester.
Yeah, per semester. Now, the 80% that the differentiated unit cost is supposed to pay, that is from around 2016 during the Matiang'i time, the government is expected to pay all that 80%. Now, from 2016 up to now, that rate has been going down. To date, I think they only give us around 49%, about 49, 50%. And so there's a gap. This gap of around 30-something percent used to be met by the self-sponsored program, the so-called parallel programs. And so today, all of us vice chancellors and principal of constituent colleges are running university using money which is less than 50% for you to produce the so-called what you want, the 100% to graduate. So there's a serious problem, and vice chancellors and universities have been accused that they are not doing very well. This is the problem. The fees, the students are only paying that one I've told you. The money that the government want to pay should pay, instead of paying the 80, they pay only less than 50%. So we have a serious problem. My proposal is, number one, I think Kenyans, most of our youth are not employed. There's a serious unemployment problem. There's a serious issues here. The best thing that we can do is basically to fund the university. That 80%, the DUC should be given 100%. When we do that, we'll be producing full-baked graduates who are able to bring solutions to our problem, create jobs, even if they are not able to be employed, but create jobs and all the rest. That's number one. Number two, and because we are talking about research and innovation, and this is Innovation Week in Kenya, one of the other things is that if you fund the university well, they'll be able to do proper research. And research for my university, we are talking of research, innovation, commercialization, and extension. RISE, if you don't want to forget, RISE. Research, innovation, commercialization, and extension. Good research that impacts, transform, and change communities are research that come up with innovative products that can be incubated, that we can eventually be commercialized, and that can go to the community and transform the community. That is only going to happen, fellow Kenyans, if we accept that universities are university. I hear people talk about even great ideas, but their mandate are very different. For universities, these are the people who need really to get the proper ask. Ask is, abilities, or you can call it attitude, skills, and knowledge. And once they have that, then they can now produce a product, innovations. Then that can be incubated and commercialized. And then we start creating jobs. And in Nyeri University, my council, I thank the council, we have insisted the last 2 years that even if we get this little money, some part of the money is put aside for research, for the graduate students and the staff. And those research, when you come to the university, you must have a research proposal that is addressing community problem. So that when you come to the university, you are taught and eventually you do a research that will lead to those innovative solutions that are going to impact the problem, but eventually should be able to create jobs. I'm very happy, my dear colleague here has shown me a Samsung, is it phone?
Yep.
Yeah, and that comes from research. And we can only do this if our government, and I think they are going to do it, the president is very passionate about this, that we are funded properly so that our staff do greater research. We have the brains, we have the capability, it's only that funding that is needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it need to be flipped? Because I look at university communities around the world and how the model that they use, the research and the innovation that you're talking about, is that to create an avenue through which then this funding is almost invited. That when they see that there are certain innovations and technological advances that are being made by this education institution, the funding almost kind of comes to you. So is there a way that we can get away from this, in my opinion, what I think is over-dependence on the government, which is already flailing in terms of funding, to look and invite external funding because of the work that is actually being done at the university? That the struggle does not need to be so hard. That are there other forms of own source revenue that can be used for universities, which are gems in terms of what they can put out? There are entire countries that depend on education as foreign exchange. How can that work?
I think this is a very important point. The countries where that has succeeded, there are issues that have to be addressed, the policy issues. For example, we need to strengthen university-industry partnership. Now, that can only happen if our government, and I think Ruto presidency will do this, if they create policies that allow the people who come and work here, our industries, people who run them. When they run here, they don't come with every consultant from outside there. Outside there, it is a must that the consultants should be part and parcel of the country. So one of the ways of really strengthening this is really to change our policy for any manufacturing things. And we are just a consuming country. And most of the things we consume come from outside there. And if they are doing them here, then they come with a consultant. I think we need to create a policy that allows that anybody coming to manufacture something here must have consultant from here and work closely with the universities. At Nyeri University of Science and Technology, I agree with you. Our council, which is the employer appointed by the government, has actually insisted that Nyeri University must now try to find other solutions, like working with the industries and seeing the problems they have and see how they can now that become a basis of research that can now be used to solve the problems of those industries. And in that way, the industry will now start coming to the university. And I think going forward, for all our universities, be they private universities or public university, that is the way to go. That the industry, some of them are there to make money.
Yep.
So if you can do a research that value add to what they are already doing, like the beautiful phone you have just shown me here. You told me, is it 400,000? It's beautiful money.
150.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one. That's money. And if I can do something on me that will make it go to 180, don't you think the industry will come for me?
Indeed.
And that's what we are saying, that strengthening policies that will allow also industries to start looking for people who are brains in the university to do this, but also the universities also to do something that will show the industries that what they are doing is going to the industries are there to make money. So why should they come if you are not going to give them something to make money? I remember some of the things, the M-Pesa story. Yeah, it was something. Was it Oxford or Cambridge where it was discovered? Although Kenyans said it was discovered in Kenya, but we know where it was discovered. But it was from the university. And then if we can do that, then the industry will start coming. So going forward, let's have a stronger collaborations between industries and the universities. And one way I'm pleading in the Kenyan TV right now is that the policies, we have also our own research fund, National Research Fund. It's Kenyan universities where postgraduate students are never sponsored. When I came to the university, I was the only one who was picked to go and do a master's class taught by 10 professors. At least I was given a scholarship. Today, postgraduate students are not given research scholarship. And I think the NRF, National Research Fund, should actually do this. The policy is that 2% of our GDP should be given to NRF. When that is done, NRF should also distribute this on a pro rata basis to all the universities so that research can take place. And when the universities get this, they need to work in such a way that the results that they get may end up in such beautiful phones, such beautiful gadgets that can create jobs. Thank you.
Professor.
Yes.
How accessible is this fund, this 2%? Because it's there in paper and it's been there for some time. If it isn't accessible, it might as well not be there. Why do I say this? Universities around the world, and you've traveled and in many places, a university like yours is an incubation hub for innovation. And so industry has no choice but to come to you because the things they require, you have the muscle, you are the one who has the future at your fingertips.
And the time.
And the time. Yes.
24/7.
Yes, but that is only possible if this 2% is accessible. As I said, it's on paper. I understand it. And it wouldn't just be for the technical sciences. It would be for the natural sciences, it would be the social sciences, for the arts. Yeah. Everything that we speak of. You look at let's look at MIT, okay? Known around the world. The reason why that university has remained where it is because of just that. It's an innovation hub, among other things.
You are right.
The thinking that goes on and the creativity that goes on is always not just world class, it's always ahead of its time.
The others follow.
They do. Okay. And industry goes to them for solutions. So I am saying,
how accessible?
How accessible is this money?
Thank you. By the way, Nyeri University of Science and Technology is one of the very few with an innovations and entrepreneurship center and incubation center. And we are very grateful to Dr. James Mwangi our chancellor. I know you all Kenyans, you all know James Mwangi, using his own family money, build for us a state-of-the-art innovation, incubation, and entrepreneurship center. And it's very useful for that. We are really very appreciative for that. Our constitution says that 2% of the GDP in Kenya should be actually be given to NRF. That is the dream. But so far we have not acquired that. We as university vice chancellors and research-minded Kenyans are pleading to the government that this should be realized. And once it is realized, what NRF does is that they normally advertise every year for people to apply, for those scholarships, for those research grants. And then after that it is given. But because they only get around 300 million. It has never been to that 3 billion. So that 300 or 200 billion, that's what they distribute to all the people competitively.
Is that 2% of our GDP?
It is not. It is not. That's what I've said. That's what I said, that for now, that is the dream, the ideal, but what we get every year, things about just 300 million every year. And I think we are pleading to the government that we need to get there. Once we get there, then some of these dreams we are talking about, we can actualize them. And he asked a very important question. Do people apply? How do people get this? One of the suggestions we are saying is that they need to target, especially universities, research students and research professors. Once they have that money, they can put a portion, some of it, to go to the universities, and will be able to do research that will bring change in terms of innovations, in terms of commercialization, in terms of extension. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
You know what you're saying? If you look at, say, even private universities or even public universities in developed countries,
right,
beyond what the government may give them, their endowments from the alumni. But it is these hubs that bring in the big money, and it encourages others to do similar things. Somebody comes up and puts up a library.
That's true.
Somebody comes up and puts up a sports complex.
That's true.
That's what happens. But the reason is because those universities are centers of excellence. Number one. Number two, there are very many towns in the world that would not exist if it wasn't for the university.
It can't.
Now, the moment you have what you call a university town, you've introduced something into that entire ecosystem that will actually revolutionize that whole place. Because you internationalize the place. Everyone from not just around the country, from around the region, will troop there. So you are right. Nairobi stops being the center of everything.
Yeah.
I say this because what we are discussing is not something that needs to be done. It has been done. It's still being done.
That's true.
There are cities that are growing because they have a university. Now, how do you unlock this? Because if I look at our universities, what we do with research is we talk about it. But most universities do not focus on research. The one time someone encounters research is when they're doing their master's or their PhD.
Yes.
After that, they do not dedicate their time to furthering knowledge in the field that they have their qualifications in. It stops there. What someone does, someone gets a job and you work. We don't have a research culture in our universities.
I think you are very right. And you are talking with a professor. I know the problem of research in these universities here.
Yes.
What happens in Kenya, first of all, the funding is a problem. We as a government need to put some money for funding, because the people, the priests of research, the priests of universities are normally professors like me. And most of the time, because there's no money and you pump me with so many students, so most of us become just teaching professors. And when you teach from morning up to evening, and then there's a term in Kenya which is called moonlighting, there's no energy. If you want to be a serious professor, serious research person, you need time to reflect, just like a priest. There are times they don't want people to see them. They are praying, they are fasting, they are reading, they are meditating, reflecting on the word of God. That is also true with professors. And you Kenyans, if you really want Kenya, and we are there, we are real professors. I mean, let's have finances. Let's have many graduate studies developed. And you know what happens outside there? When I was completing my PhD back in 95, my professor, Stad Muller in Germany, had about 25 of us as PhDs and had about 10 postdoctorals and had about 60 master students. Do you hear me? Now the professor is up there. Yeni priest. He dreams at night. We need to do some research, something on climate change, the mathematical modeling of climate change. Now you bring in all these people under you, they write proposal and you supervise and then make sure, now this one you go look for money. You get it? In Kenya, it is not possible because we are not funding the universities properly. You Kenyans, please, we can do it. We can do it better. Here people talk about Rwanda, talk about what, but we are the ones who started for them the universities there, the Kenyans. They talk about roads, water. It is our engineers who have designed those roads. So what we need, give universities money, give them research fund, and let them also rise up to that level. But this blame game is about our policies, and we must address it. And I really appeal in front of this national TV that we start talking about doing it, and then a change will be there. We are professors, very good professors, and there's no difference. Academic is academic. I'm a mathematician. A mathematician in America is a mathematician. We are the same. Yeah. You know, calculus is calculus.
It is the same everywhere.
There's no calculus of America. There's no calculus of Migori. There's no calculus of university. It is calculus. But what the difference is the policies in terms of, do we really value our professors? Do we really want them to help us solve the problem we have? Give them the funding and let the funding to pay their salaries, to have these graduate students, to have research people under them, and then we can actually have the issues sorted out.
Prof,
Thank you.
If you look at the way you've said, look at the professors that you have, look at those who are in leadership in education, and then look at those who sit in the councils of the universities. These are all very influential people. What you're talking about is a policy shift. And it's not a big shift. If all these people are speaking and reading from the same page, it is something that just would take a short time, a short conversation, and it would happen. Why is it not happening? Why is it that we have so many people who are prominent people sitting as chairs of councils in universities, as chancellors and vice chancellors in universities? They have influence in government and they can summon policymakers. Why is it not happening?
My friend, that's a good comment. Unajua, the money in Kenya inatoka tu kwa treasury. Unajua, the money coming to support any institutions is actually sorted out in the parliament, National Assembly. Our MPs that we elect are the people who decide. Sometimes people even blame the president. It is not the president. I think you know all these things. We have a cake from the treasury. It is taken to the National Assembly. They debate it. I think it is all about policy. For example, let me tell you, the council members can only oversight what they have been given, but they have got no information, the ability really to decide how much they are given. So what we need to do is policy. Have you ever asked yourself why we have money called bursary given by the county government? And please, governors, don't kill me on this. We have bursary given by CDF. We have bursaries given by GAF. We have, I don't want to talk about that. You know, all this. Why can't we concentrate some of these ideas? And of course, I know where you come from, being Kenyans. You are also called for Arambe every weekend. Again, it is all that bursary in quote by household. So why can't we consolidate this and do something well? And then we'll sort out some of these things. The council, don't misunderstand this. The council can only oversight what they are given through the National Assembly. They do not have the power to determine how much they are given.
Prof, it's been a very interesting 1 hour.
I'm sorry, thank you. I hope you are not chasing me.
No. It's been a very short 1 hour, very interesting 1 hour.
Yeah.
Professor Romano Sothiambo is the Vice Chancellor at the Meru University of Science and Technology, MUST. Asante for joining us. Come again soon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you guys. And please, I welcome all Kenyans to join Meru University of Science and Technology. We have assembled a university 10 years old, which is really planning how to transform, change, and impact this community in terms of the 8 areas. You can check that in our website. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Keep it here for more conversations.
Yeah.
Good morning. It's
Good
8
morning.
a.m.
Thank you.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The official closing of the Nairobi process of the DRC peace talks had to be postponed at the last minute after a section of delegates walked out in protest over unpaid allowances and other issues. The week-long talks, spearheaded by former President Uhuru Kenyatta, brought together representatives of the DRC government, major rebel groups, survivors of the conflict, and civil societies for the first time in the process. The former head of state was appointed by the East African Community as the facilitator of peace talks in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The dialogues are meant to create avenues for bringing back peace in the eastern DRC, where more than 120 armed groups are fighting. There was a scheduled announcement by Mr. Kenyatta at the end of the meeting, but that was affected after a faction of rebel groups staged a walkout, claiming they have not been properly engaged in the peace process. They also lamented over lack of payment of allowances. An angry Kenyatta pleaded with the delegates to allow him to postpone the meeting to today as he tries to address the concerns raised.
Wenzetu ambao sitaki niwataje kwa sababu ni wetu na wanajijua. Tunajua ya kwamba tuko na fedha za kutosha kwa sababu mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa kati ya wale ambao walikuwa wanatafuta hizo fedha. Na kama hawatafaulu, mimi sina shida kusimama na kuambia dunia mzima ya kwamba msiwapatie hawa watu pesa tena kama hawawezi kupanga vikao na kutusaidia kwa njia ile ambayo inastahili. Labda wanafanya hivi kwa sababu wanafikiria mimi sio mkubwa, lakini bado mimi niko na sikio la viongozi na nitawastaki kwa viongozi wenzao.
The meeting is expected to continue today. We will be following up on that, and we will be bringing you the very latest in our subsequent news bulletin. Now, the Council of Governors wants the transfer of universal health care staff payroll management to counties and additional resources allocated to the devolved units so as to enable them renew their contracts in May next year. The Council's chairperson, Anwar Guru, said there is a potential health disruption of health services in the counties when the contracts of the more than 9,000 staff recruited under the Universal Health Coverage Program comes to an end in May 2023. The Kirinyaga governor said governors will engage the Ministry of Health to agree on a roadmap for the implementation of UHC program. The UHC staff were contracted by the national government and deployed across various counties on 3-year contracts. The council observed that the Ministry of Health has undertaken a number of primary interventions towards UHC, including construction of 50 level 2 and 3 hospitals in counties and upgrading of maternal and child health facilities in 12 counties. They have noted that there are pending issues which still need to be addressed, including infrastructure and equipment support programs. And the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has supported the placement of grade 6 learners in their current primary schools instead of the newly built junior secondary schools. The Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms recommended that junior secondary learners should be domiciled in existing primary schools. KICD Chief Executive Officer Professor Charles Ochieng said that they support the anchoring of grade 6 learners in primary schools since the learners are at a critical stage and they need familiar people to help them transition. Ochieng was speaking during Kenya Primary School Heads Association annual conference and said that teachers act as midwives in the learners' transition process, which happen both physically and emotionally. He noted that a number of the learners are still emotionally attached to parents and guardians, but also that to their teachers. Thus, the decisions will serve well in the new competency-based curriculum. And 3 people who are suspected to have been involved in the gruesome execution of a local administrator in Laikipia County over the weekend have been arrested. The Ministry of Interior has confirmed that the individuals linked to the murder of a senior chief, Jacob Loyangile of Ilmotiok location, were apprehended on a day Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki visited the area. The weapon believed to have been used in the murder was also recovered. Kindiki said a manhunt for more accomplices in the murder was underway amid the establishment of a police camp manned by the General Service Unit, the Rapid Deployment Unit and the Anti-Stock Theft Unit in the area immediately to beef up security. Speaking in Tia Mamut village after leading senior security officials in condoling with the family of the late chief, the CS vowed that the murder will not go unpunished. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so what's this? Likoni Road is doing something this morning, and it's crossing over Enterprise. It's all spilling over from Lunga Lunga. That looks pretty busy at that changeover. Jogo Road is also pretty busy as well. Outer Ring is taking on some from Kangundo, taking on from Juja Road as well as others. Into the CBD then, coming off Jogo Road going towards Landis, that's pretty busy. Let's take a look into Mombasa, the city, not Mombasa Road. Some traffic getting into town. And then just coming out of the city as well, we're seeing some traffic. So it's normal Tuesday morning traffic. Shouldn't be anything too painful, at least not for now. We'll look out west in a bit and see what's happening going out towards Naivasha into Nakuru, out through then towards Kisumu in a bit. But for now, looks like traffic is one that we will be able to handle this Tuesday. Let's talk just in case not. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The
It is
only
7
way to
minutes after 8. Good morning and welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room this morning. Ndu?
Yeah.
Ati, you got what yesterday?
Mimi.
You bought kiwi.
I did.
And
That size.
the giant
Go
one.
big or go home.
The giant one.
And I went home with airtime. I went big,
Okay.
I went home.
Story from beginning.
Nilingia kwa gari.
Supermarket.
Oh, we're already at the supermarket? Okay. So then I went to
Kafanywa check. Madam,
went to the supermarket.
karibu. Wacha tuone handbag.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. Thank you. Ilununua hapa hapana. Kuna receipt? No thanks. So I end up. Okay. So then I got into the supermarket, did the other things that I needed to do. Then I saw, where have I seen this tin before? I remembered, okay. Once upon a time, as Titi would say, in the morning, I was in the studio, kwenye Situation Room, and we were talking about kiwi. So I said, let me put this thing to the test. I bought. I went. I paid.
You didn't open before you paid.
No, you pay first, man.
No,
This is not this look-see, then pay later. No, you pay, then look-see.
I went, I paid. I didn't even leave the place. I opened. Star on my phone. 459 hash 5 star.
Like
I
that.
mean star 5 hash. Like that.
Say again.
Sent it. Star 459 star hash. 5 hash.
Say again.
Leave me alone, Joe. Star 459 star 5 hash.
Yes.
That's what I did. Mimi, ndio hiyo. Code, credit, phone.
Came to your mobile phone.
I'm telling you, I even used it there and then to do things.
Just to verify that this thing is real.
I called my mother.
Credit.
And it's real credit.
Call
Spoke
your
to
mother.
my mother. Spoke to your cousin.
And she's okay.
She's okay.
All right, fine.
Then they told me, you have now been entered for a draw for school fees. If my luck is going the way it's going. Mimi, less 35,000 shillings in January for one of the offspring. This kiwi can be a good thing. In the name of polishing shoes, then children will go to school. Homo, be buying polish every term.
You know, it's 16,000 shillings per year in public universities in Kenya. Unaweza sponsor mtu miaka kadhaa.
2 people and there'll be change for transportation.
Sindio? Lakini sasa mimi.
Wewe mwenyewe uko na shida zako.
Tunamuongezea shida bwana.
So the idea here is go to any shop, buy your black kiwi shoe polish. Under the lid, you'll find a code. You send that code by dialing *459*5#. You instantly get airtime or data, and you are entered into a draw. 35,000 shillings school fees. How many people are winning?
36.
36
Between
people.
now and the 7th of February.
Every
week there's a winner.
Even Professor Peter Kagwanja is here, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to buy his kiwi.
I'm buying safari boots.
Kabisa.
You
don't need kiwi. You buy it, you sponsor somebody. She want to be an MP again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Senator
ni MP.
Ako juu. It's called upper house.
Upper house, lower house.
You should know.
We know these things.
Kenyans.
All of you.
We are very particular with names and titles.
Yeah.
Haya. City Muga. Please tell the good prof today's proverb.
I will. Our proverb is from the country of Sierra Leone. Quarrels end. Words once spoken never die.
Words once spoken
never die.
Never die.
Yes.
Quarrels
end. But words once spoken never die.
Never die. So is this the same as saying that words are like arrows? The moment they leave the bow, they don't come back?
No, they don't.
Okay.
That's why when people speak in Kiswahili, say this person amenishikilia maneno. Yes.
Amenishikilia maneno.
Yes. The things I've said, they have held on to the words I have said. The issue is over, but the things you said,
remember.
Yes.
Maneno. You can forget, but not forgive. Is that the same?
There's that little detail, yes.
The other way around.
Yes.
The other way around. You can
forgive, but you
can forgive, but you don't forget.
Yes.
That's the same, eh?
Wow.
Prof, welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you, Muga.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Now, you've been to this country of Sierra Leone.
Yes, I have been there.
You've done some work there.
Yes, it was one of the few countries I landed when I was a young man by plane, traveling by plane. I moved from Nairobi to Addis Ababa, Jemena, and there's that Ethiopian Airlines. You keep on
you hop.
Hopping like a hop.
Sierra Leone is the first place I saw people getting into a plane. That time there was a plane called Air Afrique, which was like a matatu. You don't buy a seat.
It wasn't like a matatu, Prof. It was a matatu.
It was a matatu.
Yes.
You don't
buy a ticket. You scramble for the seat.
You buy a ticket, then you move
you enter the plane.
Yes.
Alafu makanga anakuja kichukua.
Akichukua na pia anakuonyesha pale utaka. So a lady came and tucked herself under my feet with a baby and said, "Usiseme niko hapa" in French. Then I could not hear it. Then, because I was not speaking French, but the neighbor told me. So we with that. So it was.
She hid under your seat.
Yes, here under the
and the entire duration of the flight
with a baby.
No. We eventually said no, because you have to have the belt. Yeah. Therefore, finally, those who have not gotten seat then are moved out. But I'm told every seat, including the one of the passenger, whatever the pilots and whoever, except the pilots. Every other seat is fair game. Every other seat is fair game except the one of the pilot. So that's my initial memory of Sierra Leone. Those are the chaotic times when things were not really good. The other one, of course, they used the Kenyan military going to prevent when it was said that you had to choose whether you want the full
arm,
full arm, or
yes.
half.
Yeah.
For the
sleeve.
The short sleeve or long sleeve. That was the choice. That was really very ugly.
It was.
Then finally, Sierra Leone come back.
Sierra Leone has made some great strides. Looking at a war that was internal, external. Internal conflict was terrible.
Now they have done very well.
Very well.
They are doing extremely well, including the trade, and even if you see the construction that is going on in that country, it's amazing. Yeah.
Then that just segues into our conversation, which is, when does war end? When does development begin? In our context, when do elections end? When does governing and development begin? Now, we have been treated by these people called politicians, where you also want to belong, to some unending circus of politics and campaigning. In the last term, the argument was that no sooner had a president been sworn in and members of parliament taken oath of office and governors and MCAs than they had started the campaigns for 2022. Now, again, this time, there are rumblings that, are we starting the 2027 campaigns already? Are we seeing that, people have just gotten into parliament, hata wajakula mshahara ya miezi 3, hata waja apply grant ya gari na mortgage, and they're already campaigning for 2027. Are we there, Prof?
Well, let's see. It is important to notice the times in which we live. One of the assistants to I think it was Nixon, President Nixon, the U.S., was worried about what was happening when the TV and the radio came. And he said, "Sir, we have entered the era of perpetual campaigns." When you have to defend yourself more when you're in office to protect your office than possibly when you are campaigning. What that means is that we have flattened the plane between what you used to call the campaign time and governing time. Campaign time in the US would be 1 year and 3 years of governing. In Kenya, it would be 1 year of campaign and 4 years of governing. And that's how the issue of development versus politics came in. That 1 year is for politics, hard tackling. 1 year, for 4 years, is to fulfill the promises that you gave in your manifesto. Social media has not helped the situation now. It is even more because every morning you wake up with a tweet, the Trump style. Now, so every minute, it's not even every day, every minute is a campaign minute. And the moment you don't do that, you're left behind. So perpetual or permanent campaign, because that's what they are calling it in political science now, it has already entered our classroom. We are teaching it in schools. The perpetual or permanent campaign, it has become the order of the day. And therefore, the moment you are elected and you are sworn in, you say, you don't know whether you are saying I will serve or I will start the campaign. You're not sure. Because if you don't start immediately, then you're in trouble.
Then you won't even serve. And
that was even emphasized by the victory of William Ruto. If Ruto did not have the Tanga, which was basically endless movement, that's how the former president Uhuru Kenyatta ridiculed it, that you are moving all around instead of settling down and doing development. He was among the first persons to complain about perpetual campaign in the country. If you look at Raila Odinga, he has been permanently on campaign throughout. And and the only person who was trying to think differently was Uhuru Kenyatta, but he paid for it. So, except we are in the era of permanent campaigns.
So this is who we are now.
Yeah, and don't even complain, because if the British continue to complain about their weather and do away with the umbrella, they are in trouble. They have only themselves to blame.
How should it be? We're talking about permanent campaigns. People are talking about promises and what they want to do. Should they? So now, are we saying that even the government of the day is in campaign mode still?
It is started. I said before you say, my dear, before you say, I, Peter Kagwanja, by that time you don't know whether to say you will serve or you will campaign, because it is inevitable that if you don't campaign, you are going to be decampaigned. And therefore, you've got to make the choice whether you want to campaign or be decampaigned.
Okay.
This is what the assistant to Nixon was telling him.
So where does the choice of the people then come in when it comes to development and things that ought to be done as a result of these pre-appointment promises? The people waiting with bated breath about what ought to happen when said person, it doesn't matter at what level, from your ward representative all the way to your president, who said that they would do certain things in order for you to vote them into office, Nispa. Now, this person is there, and we're saying they're still campaigning. So what happens to these millions of people who are hoping that something actually gets done?
Well, I don't think it says as stuck as such that it is either campaign or development. It's not as stuck as such. During the time of Uhuru Kenyatta, those of us who had the literal privilege to pen something and say what need to be done about this, because we saw it's a problem. The fact that we're discussing it here, it's a serious problem. And if you go permanently on a campaign mode without focusing on development, then you have basically undermined the mandate that brought you to the office. And therefore, in thinking, we thought it is possible to do the same at the two at the same time. But then what do you call that? So we came up with the idea of development as politics. So there is politics, and then you move to development as politics. When you talk about development of politics, what you are saying is that every moment you go, you do politics, but it has to be for development. Now, what is not happening is that most politicians have not transisted into development as politics mode. Take, for example, we have the problem of GMO as an issue that we're discussing. What should a politician who want to go into this development as politics, so that you achieve development at the same time you achieve bonga point for politics, because this is what every politician is looking for, the bonga points. So how do you get those bonga points? If I was a leader of opposition, like now, I would have come up with what you can call a shadow white paper on what GMO is, what it is not, what harm it is going to cause. And you go to the public, you come to Spice, you go everywhere and say, this is what facing Kenyans. I would not be calling for demonstrations now. I would be
You'd be very academic about it.
Not academic. I would be saying, it is not GMO which is a problem. It is the pesticides that it brings, and the pest and all that thing, and the cancer that, the sprays and all required by it will bring into your lives. That would perhaps be my line. It's not academic. It is because if you remember what Socrates, among the founders of democracy, was saying, it's a choice between the candy seller and what do you call the tooth doctor,
the dentist.
Now the dentist will always lose the contest because he'll give you pain by removing your teeth. But the candy seller will always make your life sweet throughout. So the sweet tongue versus the reality. This is what we're facing.
But then what I'm hearing you say, Prof, is you're saying that even the person in the opposition should come with reality. Because when you come with a white paper, you're basically coming with this reality that's packaged in a very, very scientific way. How about just tagging to people's emotions? Surely nyinyi watu wa Bishop mnataka mimi nikule GMO kuanzia kesho, surely. That is sensational. When you hear Kalonzo Musyoka say that, you're like, enyewe hapana.
No, I hear you. What I am saying is, in a democracy, what works is knowledge. Even when you are telling a lie, you have to quote it with some truth. And that's what we are not saying. Being more systematic, more programmatic about things. And this is why the hustlers were ahead of everyone, because they tagged to things that were real. COVID-19 dismantled our economy, destroyed our economy, domestically and otherwise. If that was an impact. Before that, there were locusts. After that, is Ukraine. So the economy was completely destroyed. Now, how do you ride on that? The impact of that economic destruction. So you say they are hustlers, which is true, because wars produce hustlers, famines produce hustlers. Every destruction of the economy produces hustlers. Then you mobilize those victims and they foot. What else? So you're really you are intellectual, if you wish, about things, but you put them in such a rhetoric that you win the day.
So what do you do as a government? So let's look at what the opposition is doing. The headline in the Standard this morning, right? Raila seeks to ride on Ruto's failed pledges. Man hasn't even done 100 days, but we have already called them failed pledges. And this is what Raila is saying with Martha Karua. We are starting these public consultations because people expect something of this government. People are not getting something of this government. So we are going to remind the people that this is a promise that you were made for by these people, made to, and they are not delivering. This is basically going with the same hustler narrative that was being used by Ruto in his campaigns. Look at the state of affairs. Look at the cost of living. Look at the state of your business. This man promised the hustler fund. Have you gotten any money? 500 bob. So how many businesses have you started? This is what they're going to ride on.
It's the same narrative, isn't it?
Same shoe.
It's
different
flipped.
wearer.
It is. But you know what? You talked about campaign time. Politics versus development. Now you must also know that our own politics is based on the binary concept. It's two. You have two governments, one in power and one in waiting. And those are in the constitution. In parliament, you call them the majority versus the minority. In public, you call them the government and the opposition. And these are legal concepts. Nothing is illegal there. Now, what happens is that if you are an opposition that cannot, color the paper black and white, then people will not see the difference. And that's the problem we have been having in this nonsense of power sharing. Because you are saying you mix a little white and a little black, then what do you get? Some gray. And you could never tell what kind of a government it is. And that's what they call the mongrel. If you remember, that word has been used in our public space. Mongrel, meaning it's a dog whose breed you cannot tell. I mean, really, this is what they're saying. Now, the point is, power sharing blurs the difference between the opposition and the government. And the harder the opposition is, the more it entrenches itself in its place. I have no problem with what Raila Odinga is saying at all. I have no problem with what Mada is saying because they've got to carve the niche as an opposition. And I think that's what Ruto said they be, that I want an opposition holding me to account. Now, I think what we are going to be asking is what tools is the opposition using to entrench itself and to be effective. And that's why I was saying, I think we need to change the tune. It's very clear. Previously, the opposition was doing what it was doing, going to the streets, mobilizing its support and so on in order to get a share of government. Now, you have to know that it is not a share of government you'll get. It is election in 2027. Therefore, you have to project yourself as a government. That is the concept of two governments. One in power, the other one in waiting.
What I've always found interesting is when we talk about politics, and this unholy mixture is referred to as a mongrel. When bees move from one plant to the other, doing the very same thing, we call it cross-pollination. And yet, what is produced, if you're talking about ecology, you say, it's wonderful. If you are talking about genetics, you say, the genes are made stronger when you mix them up. Now, what is wrong with a mongrel? What if the mongrel works? It may not follow the laid down procedures of what we have understood politics to be or what we've understood democracy to be. What if this mongrel is introducing us to a hybrid, something different, something that perhaps the world of politics.
The future of dogs.
Yes, exactly. A survivor.
I didn't think that we were going to talk about dogs today.
No.
But here we are.
You see, I am looking at our politics and I'm saying this.
Yes.
With all the problems that we have, can we not look at our politics and say, we are actually introducing a new idea, a new concept into the way politics is actually worked on, the way politics works. Because the discussion is against a backdrop of what the ideal situation is. Now, if you look at the West, they have mongrel systems. Mongrel systems are coalitions. That's what they are. You create a situation where there isn't one party that dominates all, and for a good reason. But you have many people coming together. So the check and balance is already created within that association.
Well, I hear what you're saying, that we live in a society where we vote as individuals and the vote is counted as collective, as communities.
Yes.
How the Kikuyu voted, how the Luos voted, how the Somalis voted, all that kind of thing. When in essence we spend about $25 to ensure that each Kenya vote and the vote is protected individually. Meaning we drive our concepts of democracy, including inclusivity and other concepts that go with that democracy, liberal democracy. We derive it from philosophically from Western idea of individualism, which is I am because I am, and because I am, therefore we are. Now, we are coming from a philosophical heritage where we say we are, and because we are, therefore I am.
Yes.
No, so we are living at an age when philosophically we are in a crashing world, where the way we think, the way we are brought up, the way we take care of ourselves, who among us doesn't have a sister in their house or a brother in their house as they're looking for their jobs? Who among us is not paying school fees, or a cousin? Who among us is not feeding that grandmother of your other,
uncle's
father? I mean, it's none of us. It's the truth. This is what Tom Boyer was telling us, that when people in the 1960s started debating these two concepts of socialism versus capitalism, and Boyer told them, this is nonsense. Come to my house tonight and you see who is there. You tell me whether I'm a capitalist or I'm a socialist. So it's very clear that we are walking on our feet. On our head rather than on our feet. That's true as Africans, because our philosophy is consensus. We don't have this idea of crash. What they call without complicating the debate. What they call dialectics. That where something has to fight, so that when they fight, then you bring a bigger thing, and
the outcome is
yes, and therefore conflict becomes the motor of development, which is not true. That's not how the African is wired. That's not how the Asian is wired. That's not how This is peculiarly an Anglo-Saxon. It's not even the way the Norwegians are wired or the way the Finns are wired. No, this is an Anglo-Saxon thing. And it is brought by philosophers whose name we know, and how they made it, and how it is now popularized as a way to live in the world, that conflict must be there so that we move on. But it has helped, because you cannot have a car moving if there's no conflict between the tire and the road. So that's how it has defeated our thinking, So we're confused.
Let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a situation room. Professor Peter Kagwanja is a governance expert, and he's here with us. We're talking about, when is it time to stop politicking and to start governing? Is it about that time, or are we in a continuous, perpetual state of politicking for governance, or governing for politics? Whatever. We'll be back shortly after we take a look at the weather and traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Hi, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Amewapanya.
Small mammal, Big Mamu.
Mtu atamshinda.
I mean, I don't know. What are they saying? How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from 93 will be the high. In a cloudy Nyeri at 17, and it's 17 and cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 12. We'll see highs of 32 Mombasa today. It's sunny at 27 and it's 28 and mostly cloudy in Malindi, highs of 32 and lows of 25. We're looking at cloudy conditions at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 28 in Kakamega where it's cloudy at 21. 22, and the rain continues in Kampala, highs of 27. And we'll see highs of 32 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 30, 17 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 24, and highs of 33 in a mostly clear Lagos at 26, 25 and raining in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
All right, traffic situation is getting much better. It's one of the great things about December in Kenya. In terms of traffic, not too terrible. I mean, you're seeing a normal traffic, but we're probably seeing dwindling levels of traffic. It's heavy on Landys Road. Bus station will probably be busy until the end of the year. Early morning traffic is now whittling down to Survey on the Thika Superhighway, and not so bad on Kiambu Road right about now. Coming out of Westlands, James Gishuru is piling up as you get towards Waiyaki Way, and Ring Road Westlands is a beehive for activity. We're looking at Limu Road. Folks trying to get away from Westlands, trying to get into the city, and then they do what? They get stuck in Ruaka. Okay, it's not funny, but that's what it looks like this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving throughout.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. 94.4
Right,
Spice
24
FM,
minutes to
Nairobi.
9. Conversation continues. This is the Situation Room. Professor Peter Kagwanja is our guest, and he's here with us in the studio. Prof, the opposition is doing its thing. And you say you have no problem with what Raila Odinga is saying.
Yeah.
Are you also okay with what Raila Odinga is proposing to do in terms of the public meetings? He says, I want to have public meetings. Just have a conversation with the people. Be visible, be present with the people. And let's talk about this government and what it's not doing. There's an issue of IEBC and all these other issues. Is that there, right? Do you agree with this approach?
Well, I don't disagree with the idea of organizing your opposition. And as I said, the government itself will have the mandate to organize development focus, development councils, and so on. Even platforms like, the Hasra Fund, you organize an online platform to deliver the same. I would have a problem with anything, whether it's in Africa or in the US. And this is the problem the Americans are having with Donald Trump. That yes, he's the leader of opposition, but some of the things that he's coming up with, the proposals about raising his profile as a politician, undermine the foundation of the American society. When you talk about terminating the Constitution, what are you talking about? We go back to Pennsylvania, or what are you suggesting people do? Now, so democracy has its remit, and the remit is very simple. Now, you have endless rights within a democracy. That's the principle. But your freedom ends where my rights begin. Right? Therefore, the moment you begin to do things that undermine other people's rights, then you are not within the democratic space. What does that mean? It means, for example, if you call for protests, that's right. Call for protest. That's within our democratic purview. But ensure, one, nobody hurts. That two, no property is destroyed. That two, three, nobody's right to go to work and to do what they need to do is stopped. The moment my brother Muga decide that I'm not coming to work today because I'm not sure from my house to my workplace I am safe, then you have basically interfered with the democracy. It's as simple as that. It's not as complicated. Therefore, protest is enshrined in our constitution. Nobody will tell you now that you cannot protest. Who should protest? I think the leader should be the last to use that instrument, because you must always know, as a leader, when do you use the protest? Protest is the nuclear equivalent in the warfare, because it means that you went to parliament, you could not get your rights. You went to the courts, you couldn't get your rights. You went to all the lobbies that are available, including civil society. That could not be achieved. Then what else do you need? And that's where we reached when we poured into the streets against the government of Daniel Moi. Because you say this, you are put in. You say this, you're in committee. You do this in parliament, everybody. You are producing court at 4:59. When the court has only 1 minute to go. Then you had
on a Friday.
On a Friday. Now, so then you had no option. So we poured into the street and did that.
It was nuclear.
It was because we had gotten to the nuclear option of our war. Now, after we gained our freedom in 2002, we started pedaling back into normal life. And by now, we should be settling to normal life. Settling to the normal life that I was in opposition. I was in the government side, as Azimio side. And we lost squarely not because we had the deep state, we had everything, and we had the money. Let's be clear about it. If we didn't have it in the government, we had it in private. If we are buying one plate, 1 million per plate, in order to fundraise for getting out the vote, then we are doing well. But the democracy being what it is, we lost. So now we got back to the drawing board and ask the fundamental question: how do we systematically go to challenge this government without going to the ways that are
unleashing the nuclear?
Yeah, unleashing the nuclear. So for a politician. But for an ordinary person, let's make this distinction very clear. For an ordinary person who feels aggrieved by democracy, has talked to their representatives, members of parliaments, MCAs, and they're not giving them answers. They have talked to everybody they can talk to, including the church, and something is not working, then demonstrations and protests become a right.
Option.
At that time, it's not the nuclear option. Because for the ordinary people, revolution is a nuclear. Yes, for ordinary people, and they are the ones who choose their leaders. That's why you find revolutionaries are not one of what you can call very educated people. The Kimadis were not professors, and so on and so forth. Because it is coming from the people. It is spontaneous. It's from below. But for a politician, protest is the nuclear option. Because you are now calling the people, you're inciting your people, your followers, to come out and do the inevitable. Is this the time for protest in Kenya? Not yet. We've not even hit 100 days. Is this the time for demonstrations in the streets? Not yet. We have not even concretized the agenda that's going to pour out into the street. So it's not necessary, if you wish.
How do we know that it's time to protest?
When you have exhausted the avenues available, and the response is draconian. That's the test, and everybody feels it. In Mount Kenya, when Rubia and Matiba came out, and these are the wealthiest amongst that region's people, then we knew that the end has come. There is no turning back. Very many people had protested that Godo Karaoke, Merugi, whatever, Nganga, Mukaru Nganga. Many people had protested for over a decade. But when Matiba and Rubia came out, then they said that the end has come.
The direction in which one would hope that a nation was going is that you're graduating from a place of infanthood and then you're actually going towards adolescence and then adulthood in the race towards development. That's the hope, that's where the progression is. Do you think that these agitations that we see along the way are contributing towards this governance concept that we're talking about? That you're in a constant state of politicking to hope that you will get to a desired end. That we politic in the manner in which we do so that many things will come about. One of the things, for example, is electoral reforms. One would hope that truly, if we were really interested in making sure that electoral reforms take place in this country, those are the things that we would target. Then if we talk about the development, the health, the education of our children, the health of our people, mitigating factors, the drought, for example, that some of us seem to have forgotten is still ongoing in this country. As we look at these factors, and the agitations that we see politically, would one not hope that it's kind of like a ball that's rolling, but it's also turning on its axis? But either way, we are making some kind of headway towards a desired goal. Is that all right? What we see, is it okay? Can we still do that? Or do we say, stop it, put all the philosophical agenda aside, and let's just get down and do the work? Because then one would say that the way in which we see things happening today, that the opposition operates in the manner it does because we're still chewing on sour grapes and is not really vested in the proper governance and development of this country. Is it all right, the agitations that we see? Is it taking us somewhere?
There are two questions that we ask in life. The first question is what? And the second question is how. The question what is about the end, what we want to achieve. And I think that's what you're speaking to. And the next question is, how do we reach there? And that's what we are now debating here. Because we all know what we want in Kenya. One, we want Kenyans to be free. We don't want to go back to some of the conditions we found ourselves in. Because in freedom, I can actualize and realize my dreams. But at the same time, we want a government that is working, a government that delivers on areas of health, education for our children, and also provides the amenities that we need to live day by day, water, electricity, and so on. So we know the ends. And the old men of the 1960s were cleverer than we were. They did not go to complicated kind of debate that I would bring onto this platform about dialectics and all. They talked about one thing called poverty, ignorance, and disease. These are the mortal enemies of our people. They were as simple as that and very clear in their minds. So eliminating poverty, ignorance, and disease. Now, and when you're doing that, when you now begin to debunk what you mean by ignorance, then you find technical education lies there, other education lies there, somewhere Gubaro for the old ones, and all. So you can debunk it. So we know the ends, so we know what. What we have disagreed on in this country for, donkey years is how. And we are caught at this question of how because ideologically we come from different perspectives or different directions. There are those of us who come from the revolutionary background that you think in order to achieve something, you must be defined as revolutionary. So you hear people, colleagues of mine in the intellectual world talking about we the progressives versus the others. like we the progressives. Progressives, the problem therefore is not what, it is how. And this is where we are today. Now, if I was where Raila Odinga is today, the first thing I would have done is to create my shadow cabinet. The second thing I would ask is, I want a conversation with Dr. William Ruto on where my office as the leader of opposition is. Where is my office? I need that towering place. You have a state house, your deputy has another state house, and the ministers have these offices. Where are my ministers? The shadow ministers. Because this government provides for shadow cabinet. Then I would be asking, now for my shadow cabinet to do the work it's supposed to do, including my secretariat, the people around me, what are they going to depend on? So you are asking for resources to be an effective opposition. Because that's what our constitution demands.
And the president has said, I want an effective opposition.
So can you have that? Now, power has PO box. post office address. If you don't have a post office address, then you have no power. And therefore, if you are a leader of opposition where people cannot wake up in the morning and find you, then you have no power. That's why you keep on talking about Kamukunji. You keep on talking about Kibera. You keep on talking about, because these are the only post office addresses that people know that are shared. Give us an opposition that has teeth. And then let's move from there. If this government doesn't deliver or on its agenda, then we are simply taking advantage of that, and the public can see. When come 2027, they will vote the way they vote.
But then, unfortunately, Prof,
yes.
it makes a lot of sense to say, organize this way. Ask for this facilitation for the members of your shadow cabinet, for the opposition, blah, 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 blah. But our system doesn't recognize that. Our system sees one parliament that holds the executive to account, and that parliament has minority and majority. And that parliament has provided the office of minority leader, the office of deputy minority leader, the office of minority whip, and the others. So there's that. Ruto can basically just tell Raila, go and ask the speaker.
No, that's understood. But remember, you and I were in this country in 2007 when the national madness overtook us, and we were on each other's, neck. I was in Kibaki government as an advisor, and remember the debates we were having, and said, the people are making a legitimate case. This imperial presidency seems to be having the power to do everything. And therefore, if you drive from Nairobi to Rodwa, you find spaces of government and spaces of the opposition on the road. The ones of the government have no potholes, the ones of opposition have potholes. It was very clear, even on the roads. Then we said, Kenyans need to feel they have something. That's how devolution was born. It has not reached its optimum because it needs to have resources that make sense, and two, that those resources are protected from corruption and other mishandling. But essentially, the principle was let people have their own spaces and manage their own development. The government concentrate on policy. On the overall, the war against the three enemies of our people, ignorance, poverty, and disease. That's the government. Now, it is possible to tell William Ruto, and he will listen, this I can tell you, he'll listen, that we need an opposition with the teeth. So that if Professor Kagwanja is not consulting for William Ruto, I can consult for Raila Odinga, and Raila Odinga pay me as an expert. Right? About GMO, about other things affecting our place. I can review the Hasra Fund on behalf of Raila Odinga and the opposition, and be paid and put food on the table for my children without necessarily feeling that I'm serving
public funds.
Yes, without I'm misusing public funds. So by just going to Kamukunji, let me make this very, very simple. By just going to Kamukunji, which has no PO box in terms of our democracy, you have denied livelihoods to millions of us.
Maybe he's basically going the same route you're taking, but he's gone through a different road.
No, but I cannot be employed in Kamukunji.
Going to Kamukunji is
I'll not
one
be
way
employed
of
in
having a
Kamukunji.
conversation with William Ruto.
Yeah.
You know what? I need a place. The reason I'm in Kamukunji is because I don't have a PO box. If you want me not to come to Kamukunji, then provide for me.
But that is not what is taking him there. First things first. Do you want the gown?
How do you know?
Do you want the gown? Or do you want the drama around it?
How do you get the girl without the drama?
But you have to say
there has to be that thing. The gates are closed and the women on the other side are singing.
Yes.
They shall do that.
And the connections.
Something has to make the door open.
Yes. But you see, there is somebody among this drama. There's somebody who is quiet somewhere with his either leather jacket or whatever he chose to go with this time, who is sitting there and quietly saying, do it for me because I need that girl. You have to indicate what it is you want at that material time.
But there's something that brought you there. You know what it is.
Yes.
You already know what it is that has brought you to that gate. The people on the other side who are singing know what you want.
And they also know what they want from you. Because you cannot just get the girl for nothing. Therefore, politics is simply like that. It's not a negotiation. It's a struggle. But you have to make your objectives very clear. For me, the 100 days after the election, I wanted to see a functioning opposition with what I have mentioned, a Kadu cabinet. Remember, Ruto just managed to swear his PSs the day before yesterday. By now, we should be having the technical people who are going to help the opposition.
But Professor, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Does our constitution allow for what you're suggesting?
Yes, it does. We are based on the concept of two governments.
Yes, we are.
Yes, and we have the majority leader. Leader in parliament. What we did not do, and this was our mistake when we were making the new constitution, we did not provide for the leader of the party, the presidential candidate, who was in the majority, to come to parliament. Because like now, Raila should be speaking in parliament about what he wants to do or what he wants to be done. Now, that platform is not there. Why? We don't have that PO box. So the PO box he has is Kamukunji, Kibera, and Nakuru, Fraha Stadium and other stadiums. So the point is, let's not lose the fundamental. At this age in our time, as a country, the biggest challenge is that we can go back to the protest politics of the 1990s, or we can stabilize our democracy by institutionalizing it, and only coming out of institution if the leadership become draconian. And you see that. That is how the Americans did it. When Trump became too much for them, they used the media was one of the spaces. The houses were some of the spaces, and in the public, those who are in the intellectual world, journals and other publications, and they got lead of Trump that way. And the people came out of the streets, the Black Lives Matter, that campaign itself. So there is always a way in which we can protect our democracy. Yeah, but
I put it to you, Professor. The way you've said it, I'm actually hearing it. Probably, Raila and Karua have tried going to Ruto via the political advisors, and they have seen this will not work, so they're going to Ruto via their other advisors.
I don't.
Security advisors, for example, we look at national security. These demonstrations have an effect on national security. Probably, Mr. President.
But we have that agenda on the table. I'm looking for it.
That's
because I have been debating with my colleague, Makau Mutua. We were on the same political side. And saying, you start by basically bastardizing the system we are trying to build by calling it fake. Right? Then after you call it fake, you want to now prescribe how to deal with the fake democracy, which is basically to take people to Kamukunji, and then enter what Mahatma Gandhi was called, positive action across the thing. Have you used our institution? Yes, the hustlers dominate parliament, they dominate Senate, they dominate government, but they did that as we watched. It was.
Yes, they did, Professor, but also consider that when the campaigns were on for this very presidency that we now have, we still had the deputy president who was in effect functioning as the opposition. He was still the deputy president of the country.
Yes, an opposition.
And he had been part and parcel of the decision-making process of very many things that happen in government, and consistently presented himself as though he was an outsider. In a government, he was still the deputy president of. I'm referring to our politics and the way we operationalize our politics.
Which is different.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure having you. City, before the Prof leaves, please tell him about the watch.
Prof.
Oh, my.
It is important,
There's a watch.
Yes, there is. You see this? Look, you see this watch here? I know it looks like a watch because it is a watch. But this watch doesn't just tell you the time. This very watch, once on your wrist, can tell you your blood pressure. It can measure for you stress levels. It can even count for you the steps that you walk. Meaning, if you've got this stepometer, that's what I'm calling it, that tells you need to walk 100 steps a day. This watch will do that for you.
Are you giving it to me?
I am telling you that it is a watch you should get.
Professor Peter Kigonja, governance expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Please make sure you keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. And we'll be talking about what?
Kiwi.
And we'll tell you about what you can do with Kiwi.
How you can win school fees. Or did you want me to tell about what we'll be talking about in the next hour?
Sasa unakula tu time hapa badala you decide what you want to talk about.
Everything.
How you can win with Kiwi and 35,000 shillings
for school fees
worth
in
of
January
school fees.
2023, yes.
36 winners.
Every week.
Every week.
One winner.
Yeah. Keep it here for more. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Oseto. Retired President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is today expected to continue with the third Nairobi process of the DRC peace talks. This after the talks had to be postponed at the last minute yesterday after a section of delegates walked out in protest over unpaid allowances and other issues. The week-long talks, spearheaded by President Uhuru Kenyatta, brought together representatives of the DRC government, major rebel groups, survivors of the conflict and civil society for the first time in the process. The former head of state was appointed by the East African community as the facilitator of peace talks in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The dialogues are meant to create avenues for bringing back peace in eastern DRC, where more than 120 armed groups are fighting. There was a scheduled announcement by Kenyatta at the end of the meeting, but that was affected after a faction of rebel groups staged a walkout claiming that they had not been properly engaged in the peace process. They also lamented over the lack of payment of allowances. An angry Kenyatta pleaded with the delegates to allow him postpone the meeting to today as he tries to address the concerns raised.
Wenzetu ambao sitaki niwataje kwa sababu ni wetu na wanajijua. Tunajua ya kwamba tuko na fedha za kutosha kwa sababu mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa kati ya wale ambao walikuwa wanatafuta hizo fedha. Na kama hawatafaulu, mimi sina shida kusimama na kuambia dunia mzima ya kwamba msiwapatie hawa watu pesa tena kama hawawezi kupanga vikao na kutusaidia kwa njia ile ambayo inastahili. Labda wanafanya hivi kwa sababu wanafikiria mimi sio mkubwa, lakini bado mimi niko na sikio la viongozi. Na nitawastaki kwa viongozi wenzao.
And the Council of Governors now wants the transfer of universal health coverage, staff payroll management to counties and additional resources allocated to the devolved units so as to enable them renew their contracts in May next year. The Council's chairperson, Anwai Guru, said there is a potential health disruption of health services in the counties when the contracts of the more than 9,000 staff recruited under the Universal Health Coverage Program comes to an end in May 2023. The Kirinyaga governor said governors will engage the Ministry of Health to agree on a roadmap for the implementation of UHC program. The UHC staff were contracted by the national government and deployed across various counties on 3-year contracts. The council observed that the Ministry of Health has undertaken a number of primary interventions towards UHC, including construction of 50 level 2 and 3 hospitals in counties and upgrading of maternal and child health facilities in 12 counties. They, however, noted that there are pending issues which still need to be addressed, including infrastructure and equipment support programs. Now, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development has supported the placement of grade 6 learners in their current primary schools instead of the newly built junior secondary schools. The Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms recommended that junior secondary learners should be domiciled in existing primary schools. KICD Chief Executive Officer Professor Charles Ocheng said that they support the anchoring of grade 6 learners in primary schools since the learners are at a critical stage and they need familiar people to help them transition. Ocheng, who was speaking during the Kenya Primary School Head Teachers Association annual conference, said that teachers act as midwives in the learner's transition process, which happen both physically and emotionally. He noted that a number of the learners are still emotionally attached to parents and guardians, but also to their teachers. Thus, the decision will serve well to the new competency-based curriculum. And 3 people who are suspected to have been involved in the gruesome execution of a local administrator in Laikipia County over the weekend have been arrested. The Minister of Interior has confirmed that the individuals linked to the murder of a senior chief, Jacob Loyangila of Ilmotiok location, were apprehended on a day Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki visited the area. The weapon believed to have been used in the murder was also recovered. And the Director of Criminal Investigations, Amin Mohammed, has posted 60 officers from the disbanded Special Services Unit of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to various stations across the country. Mohammed, through a memo, also transferred 6 other officers to different duty stations. He directed regional criminal investigation officers, county criminal investigation officers, as well as operations and logistics directors to ensure that the officers report to their duty stations by December 13th. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The Spice Newswire is brought to you by Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Go ahead and get yours today. It's your time.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Not too bad a morning in terms of traffic. At a few minutes after 9 o'clock, we're looking at it then spilling over into the city, and it's coming out of Westlands, coming off of Thika Superhighway, and as well as the eastern part of the city. Let's look at Lunga Lunga that spilled over to Likoni a while ago, and that's still doing the rounds there. Landys Road. I told you until probably the beginning of 2023, there's going to be excessive traffic on Landys Road bus station, not to be toyed with at this particular point in time. So just watching out for that. Looking a little bit better on the Thika Superhighway, as well as coming off of Kiambu Road. That has not done too poorly today at all. Now, whatever's happening in this whole Limuru Road area, the folks who are running away and then gotcha. It's Gotcha Day on Limuru Road and different parts of Ruaka, the Northern Express. So that's pretty busy as we look at it. Let's take a look in about half an hour, see what happens. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room today. We're live still on Spice and online, and the conversations are always found on YouTube many days and years after the conversation has taken place. Go to our YouTube page, SpiceFM KE, and then you will find the interviews right there. We have a new guest in the studio. This is Innovation Week, and a lot is taking place in terms of innovation. We had an innovation conversation at 7 a.m. with the Vice Chancellor of MUST, the Meru University of Science and Technology. We're going to have another conversation about innovation and what you do with your innovation, okay? Before he comes on, CT has the day's proverb.
Yes, from the country of Sierra Leone. Quarrels end. Words once spoken never die.
Quarrels end. Words once spoken
never end.
Never die or never end?
Never die.
Okay.
Die. Death
is an end.
Signifies an end. Yes.
Okay.
An end doesn't always signify death. But
yes. But death most definitely signifies
it's an end.
An end.
Yes, it is.
Kosen Kenta is a program manager at Antler. Good morning, Kosen.
Morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Karibu sana to the hot seat.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
That proverb is from Sierra Leone. Any relation? Does it resonate?
Yeah, I think it does. Okay, my understanding is you just need to be careful about what you say. Like once words are out, they're out, and yeah, you just need to be careful.
They will never die.
They will never die.
Yeah. What's that line that they use in Game of Thrones?
What is dead may never die.
That one.
Yeah.
That one. What is dead may never die.
Yeah. I don't know if it applies, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Kosen, what is Antler?
What is Antler? So Antler is a global tech venture builder and early stage VC. So what we try to do is we enable basically ambitious and most smart and ambitious people to build innovative, disruptive technology businesses at scale.
So what do you do?
What do we do? All right.
Yeah, so you help them, blah, blah,
So what was that like very
They're the ones that are building.
What have you just said?
All right. So what do we do? Maybe let me try and break that down. We're a venture builder, so we're a startup generator. So basically what we try to do is help people from day zero, literally build businesses from scratch.
For example.
Yeah.
So for example, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Walk me through it. Up to a point where Antler comes in and helps me.
We come in literally from that point. You have an idea, and the first thing is we think a lot of people place maybe too much value on the idea itself and not enough value on themselves as individuals and the skill sets they bring. So what you'll come is we'll say you have an idea, you have that entrepreneurial spirit, and we will now stress test that idea. We will give you the tools you need to further ideate and validate your idea. And the reality is the business might actually be something really attractive, but on the other hand, it could be something that, you realize it's not as attractive an opportunity as you thought. And that's why we place more emphasis on the founder, on the individual, because with the right skill set, don't undervalue your skills you've gathered, the networks you've built, how deep you've gotten into a specific sector, specific vertical. With that knowledge, we think even without the idea from the jump, you're in a really good position to find an exciting problem to fix.
So starting from now, the person, the individual. This person has a brilliant idea. They want to come up with a platform which can better manage the Hustler Fund for SMEs, right?
All right.
And so this is going to be used. It can ride on Safaricom, on Airtel, on Telcom. And so they approach you and they tell you, this is what I'm thinking. I can create something like this. Now, what is it that they're lacking at this point? And what is it that Antler then gives them?
All right. So several things. So for us, we think, looking at the stats, we have research that's showing that there are three main reasons why startups fail. So number one, it's no market need. So yes, initially you think you have a great idea. The first thing we do is help you with that ideation process. We help you refine your thought process and really figure out how you're going to make this work. And if it's actually, there is a need. So we talk about, you might be looking at a vitamin instead of a painkiller. So what we think is when there's actually a really visible and clear pain point, that's when people are willing to pay. So we help with that ideation process. That's the first thing I think, which is really important. Another thing is lack of capital. So businesses do struggle to get off the ground and just get that ball rolling. And so for us, again, we're willing to actually invest about $80,000 for a small stake of 10% in your business to help you now get moving. Even during the process, it's also difficult during that period when you're actually building you have needs. A lot of these people are coming with experience. You're coming with other needs. You have families. Maybe you're a bit older. You have responsibilities. And we'd want to help you through that. So we also assist the founders with a grant during the program.
Okay. Is there an age limit to this thing?
No, there's no age limit.
Please carry on.
All right, great. Looking forward to your application. Right. But so that's another thing. And then another thing is not the right team to fix the problem. So on one hand, we're helping to figure out, are you the right person to fix this? And on the other hand, how the program works is we're bringing several individuals with very different skill sets. And the aim is that people with complementary skills will come together, people with similar visions, and you'll build something amazing from scratch. So that's, I think, a really big value out of Antler. you'll find complementary pieces because you can't do everything. You're going really deep in maybe a specific sector. You have your own skills that you have, but that alone might not be enough to actually push you along. Yeah.
You know, when you talk about startups, there are all those words that are used, seed fund, I don't know, round one, blah, blah, incubation. Now, many people we hear of, at that point when they're thinking of a business and they want to start that business, they lack that initial capital. And even if they go to their family, so somebody's listening to this idea, out of the benevolence and that responsibility as I have as a family member, I'm going to give you some money. But then I'm just looking at you and thinking, this thing just sounds completely like, why am I giving this person money? Am I going to invest in the money? So there's always that problem with getting that initial capital to actually go and test your idea. Is this where you guys come in?
We do. Of course, we're also not pushing people to start building immediately. So what we think is, what really helps is, can you build a very low fidelity or something very simple? So we call that the minimum viable product. Can you find a way to start validating that there's actually a product, a market need for the product that you're actually building? So yes, we would. First of all, we try and help them confirm or to validate that there's actually a problem they're solving, even before we actually inject the capital. And then it's after you prove that is when, all right, fine, we will help you get started. Because exactly what you're saying, getting from 0 to 1 is actually a really big problem, and getting that injection of capital does help. So, yeah.
When somebody then approaches you and needs to then find out how to help with the ideation process, as you call it, do they have to pay you?
No, they don't. As we said, we're actually giving you a grant. We're actually going to, we're almost basically paying you to look for an idea and a problem to solve within that period. Because that's just our mission, is to enable, because we think there are a lot of smart people who are facing certain barriers to actually get their ideas off the ground. And we want to help do that. And again, we're a venture fund, so we will take stakes. So we're also incentivized for you to perform well, because ultimately we do want to exit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So what kinds of, businesses do you look at? Do you somebody could have a brilliant idea that doesn't fall into the category bins maybe that you have set aside, or is it just anybody who has a great idea and then needs a leg up in terms of assistance, that you would then be able to assist?
So we are, first and foremost, we're sector agnostic. So what that means is we invest in any sector if you can show an opportunity. But maybe the caveat is that it should be tech or tech enabled. So we're looking at either purely technology plays. So think your Facebooks, your maybe enterprise software, maybe purely technology. But then also we're willing to maybe expand our definition of tech companies to those that are leveraging technology heavily. So if you have a lot, like your business might have a lot of physical elements, but it's leveraging technology, we're willing to look at it as well. Yeah, but sector agnostic. Yeah.
So who funds you?
Who funds us? So we have LPs. So first of all, Antler is a global brand. So the Nairobi office is one of 25 locations where Antler is located. And just the same way a venture capital fund would work, we would have LP partners who would actually inject capital for us to fund. Limited partner. So it's a partner who doesn't actually deal with the day-to-day, but they're actually investing money into the
So they're investing money.
Exactly.
It's an investment.
It is.
But you're giving me a grant.
Yes. So
and you're giving me money just for 10% stake in an idea which could flop.
Yes. So it's to an extent that numbers game. So you're right. The earlier we come in, the higher risk it is. Because the fact is, we're literally investing in a person, in an individual.
Yeah.
But that's why we really are very we go through a very rigorous process to actually vet the people we actually invite into the program, because we're betting on you, and it's risky, but we think there are a lot of ambitious and smart people who have the ability to actually build $1 billion companies. So again, it's an investment. We're not. It's not just out of the kindness of our. It's not out of the kindness of our heart. It's we want you to have the best opportunity of the biggest leg up to actually be able to get to a point where you can give us a business we can invest in. And get a return on it. So we come in at 10%, and yes, that will be diluted, but our thought process is we might have a small stake a very large company, and that.
Essentially, you want to start with someone when they are beginning,
Yes.
in the hope that it will grow to be something much bigger.
Exactly.
So this 10%, which looks like a paltry sum, may actually amount to be something much, much bigger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is this now not the time for a little success story? Tell us one of these things that you've done, people whom you have not necessarily mentioned by name, but venture projects that you've been involved in, how that went. And of course, if you can throw in a few non-success stories, it will also be good. And why it is they're not successful, and what it is you do when something isn't successful, can you turn it around and make it successful?
Got it. That's a great question. I might not be able to get into, as you said, the specific companies.
Yes.
So one thing to maybe clarify is, as the Antler East Africa Fund, we are about 3 years old. So keep in mind the horizon for these companies. We're not expecting overnight success. You're not going to become $1 billion company tomorrow, even in a year. It's going to take time. So what I'd say is we're seeing really positive traction for several of our companies. So we've seen our companies, our collective portfolio, raise upwards of $35 million. That's just within a 2-year span. Additionally, just recently we've seen some of our getting into series seed funding rounds so we're giving them the really early stage money just to get off the ground, and we've seen them get a lot of follow-on capital, which is just showing that positive trend that they're actually growing and they're getting buy-in from now actual customers, buy-in from other investors. So we're not crazy to invest in them. We're finding now people also buying into their vision, and
And in all companies that you're investing in, it's all the same, 8,000 USD. 80,000 USD.
Yes.
8 million.
No, it varies. Actually, maybe to clarify, we have 2 tracks. So we have the venture building, what we've been describing, which is you come in and we help you build something from scratch.
Okay.
But we also do acceleration. So we're also looking at early stage businesses that we can also inject capital into. So that might vary. So for the venture building, standard, but we have basically a wider for the spectrum of business. So we look at a business on a case-by-case basis. Some of them are coming with their own valuations and saying they're raising X amount, and we decide if we also want to participate in the funding round.
Kosan, for how long have you been in this tech space in Kenya?
Tech space, I'd say maybe the last 3-4 years.
Not as
Not Antler, you.
Kosan.
As me.
Kosan Kenta.
Got it. Well, funny thing, my background is actually not in tech, it's in legal. So I have practiced previously in basically in the commercial department of a firm in Kenya. So a lot of deals and a lot of basically due diligence and just support to tech startups. But then now I guess I wanted to be more into the thick of things and actually supporting businesses to come up. So moved into management consulting, where again I had the benefit of actually having several projects with some tech startups, before now getting into the thick of things with Antler.
The reason I'm asking this is because of the next question that I'm going to ask, or number of questions. One, this government says it's very big on the digital economy. In fact, there's an entire state department for digital economy. For a long time, we've been calling ourselves, the Silicon Savannah. This is the place where people with tech ideas and these tech businesses are actually being born. If you look at the last couple of years, is this digital economy in Kenya actually on the rise? Is it on a decline? Is it on a plateau?
I'd say it's still on the rise, but I'd still say, as you're saying, tying into policy, we do need to be careful that we don't lose that momentum. So for very many reasons, for instance, things like tech talent. About 50% of tech talent on the continent is shared among 5 countries, including Kenya. So we have a lot of labor and a lot of people actually in the space that can work. We're seeing positive trends in terms of VC funding, and Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa is always at the top of that list in terms of injection of VC capital. So, for instance, last year we hit about, basically we've increased, we hit $3.5 billion invested in the space this first half of 2022 in Africa, and that's already about 30% increase from what the same period last year. So we're seeing money still being pumped into the system. But I will say, and we also have things like the CMA sandbox. So we have innovations around government that are helping people to kind of. So for those people who don't know, CMA sandbox helps businesses or tech businesses that are looking in that investment space to kind of build within an environment where they're not really subject to the harsh regulatory landscape.
Framework.
It's like you just kind of experiment with government overseeing it without them really clamping down. So there's some good positives, but then on the other side, we're also seeing some things that might be counterintuitive. So like taxes. Tax has actually been an issue. Digital services tax has been increased, almost doubled to about 3%. It's from January. Also capital gains, which also affects investments in tech, will be increasing significantly. It will be increasing again almost by half. All these things are making it a bit of a harsher environment for people to actually operate in. And now you'll see places like Zanzibar that are trying to now make a lot more really relaxed tax incentives, and we're seeing people moving. So I think Wasoko just moved its headquarters.
So you move actually from Kenya to Zanzibar.
To Zanzibar.
Because there's a better tax regime.
Exactly. And so those are the things I'm saying. There's a lot of positives. We're still seeing people setting up shop, Microsoft, Amazon, Google. People are still coming into the space. But then there are also things we need to kind of be cognizant about and really look into so that we don't make it harsh and now disincentivize people building here.
Antler essentially is a business.
It is, yes.
Okay. Now, for a business to come into, let's call it a space, this space we're referring to as Kenya, there's an opportunity that they must have seen.
Yeah.
There must be something they must have seen. Now, the question that I'd ask, I'm still going back to it. Success story.
Oh, those were the success stories. I think it's just them making gradual growth, but more specific.
No. There's no success story that is complete without stories of
failure.
No, it isn't failure. It is not achieving what you set out to do. That is not failure.
That's fair.
Because I peppered it by asking, what then do you do? What does one think of doing to rejig it? Because if it hasn't gone the way you purposed it, there must be something that didn't work. What was it that didn't work? And can it be rejigged?
Got it, yeah. I think I understand your question. So yes, even in terms of our investments, because it's, as we said, we're giving several different teams money, but then we understand that not everyone will give us back our return on our investments. The reality is a lot of them do. I'll even go as far as saying some do fail. That's a reality. But it's the fact that we're actually working with you hand in hand, because you're very early stage. You need a bit more hand holding than a more established company would need. There's a point where you outgrow Antler. You'll have access to a lot more advisors, a much larger team, and that's how we help. We support. It's when you're very small, a very small team, you have to find the key roles that you actually need to fit in. That's the reality. So what we'd do is, as advisors, as mentors, as coaches, we're supplementing that. Those gaps in your team when you're very early stage. So that's one thing we'll do. We'll keep holding your hand and keep assessing. So what we have is, even for people we've invested in, we're giving them regular, like weekly check-ins where we're always checking in, even as because you get busy. Running a company is incredibly tedious. These people are, hours and hours on day. So we try and look for times that we can still continue coaching them and just helping them think through the areas that they're actually not figuring out yet. And then also we have the advantage of having a very broad network. So out of these 25 locations, we have over 400 global advisors. So these are domain experts. Some people have gotten really deep. About thousands in alumni globally. That these are people, again, you can leverage who have very specific knowledge that they can assist you with to figure things out. But yeah, it's a constant step. And you're right, sometimes you're not seeing the growth that you anticipated. You're projected you're going to grow by, 2x, 3x, all that. You get your feet hit the ground, you're actually running, and you realize a lot of your hypotheses were wrong, and we kind of help you just figure those things out.
So this model you have where you're actually investing in a person.
Yeah.
So essentially, if something doesn't quite work, would I justifiably then say that you actually misjudged or you misunderstood this particular person? Because somebody can present a capacity that they actually don't have, or they can think they have it. And then when the process actually begins,
it's not the right fit.
It's not quite the right fit.
I get it. No, that's actually why we don't give you money upfront.
Yes.
So applying to Antler doesn't automatically mean you're getting investment.
No.
So, and you're right, because even if our process is a bit rigorous of interviewing and finding the talent, we could get it wrong. We could actually find that these people really were shining in the interview, but when you put them, you actually put them in that context where they actually have to have a lot of grit, dig very deep and go very deep into that specific problem, and they could crumble. And that's why we stay with you for about the program that it's designed, it's about 3 to 4 months. And that means we dedicate a lot of hours. You can't hide behind a very shallow, I guess, facade for 3 months. It'll begin to show. Like we'll see the track.
Your true self will come out.
Exactly, because we'll really. The program is actually pretty intense. It's very rigorous.
And you're constantly in my space.
Exactly, we're constantly asking you to
personal space, man.
There's very little of that. We're constantly pushing you to present on Friday. We're actively tracking your progress. We're coaching you constantly. Yeah, we're going to get the best out of you, and then ultimately after the 3 months is when we will make the decision of. But then just to clarify, we're very incentivized. We have a target of hitting about 1,000 companies invested in per year. So we really want to invest in as many as possible, but the process is very objective. Yeah.
So far, when you look at what it is that Antler has been doing, do you have an idea, do you have the figures as to how many people have actually applied in the 3 years that you've been in Kenya? How many have applied, and of these numbers, how many have been accepted? Or how many have been accepted to at least begin the process of benefiting from what it is that Antler seeks to do?
Yes, I'm trying to remember the exact figure, but it's
just a roundabout figure. Yeah, if they're around 300, say 4. If they're 1,000, say 2,000, something like that.
It's a few thousands, actually. I think we might be upwards of 10,000 applications over the past 3 years. It's a lot of applications annually. In terms of who we've actually supported, I think we should be upwards of 250 founders supported over the last 3-4 years. Yeah.
Time for a break. It's 9:30. This is the Situation Room. Kosten, have you heard of 1255 Palm Ridge Apartments?
I have not.
1255 Palm Ridge Apartments are a development by Centum Real Estate. Centum, and they're in Vipingo. It's basically Vipingo development. So, on your way to Kilifi, there is Vipingo. Right at that place called Vipingo is where this development is. They did phase 1 of different types of houses, which were apartments, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and studios, and then villas. And they've already handed them over to the owners, 500 units. They are now launching phase 2, same, 1, 2, 3 bedroom, studios, villas. For as little as 2.45 million shillings, you can actually own a piece of property there. Number 1, it's right by the road. This is the highway between Mombasa and Malindi, which is now being dualed. So we had dual carriageway. Number 2, there's proper and adequate water supply. They have their own water desalination plant, which then means that you have access to good water all the time. Number 3, the power is stable. You have good access to power and all those other things. And you just cross the road, na uko kwenye beach. Just cross the road, beach. So it's a good one. If you'd like to know more about it, just call 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215, or SMS the word Vipingo to 22365. Vipingo to 22365.
All right.
So,
great.
Sounds good, eh?
Sounds good.
You know how much the deposit is? For as low as 245,000 shillings. You start your journey towards owning property there.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
London Mulu, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together.
Got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Yeah?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on. Yeah.
All right, so sun is coming out in Nairobi at 20, highs of 25 and lows of 16, and we'll see highs of 26 in Nakuru, where it's sunny at 19 and it's 18 and cloudy in Nyeri. Highs of 23 and 25 will be the high in a cloudy Eldoret at 18. 29 are partly sunny conditions in Mombasa, highs of 32 and highs of 32 as well in a sunny Malindi. It's 25 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28, and 28 will also be the high in Kakamega, where it's sunny at 25. Kampala is mostly sunny at 22, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam, where it's sunny at 31 currently. 19 and mostly sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 24, and it'll go to highs of 33 in Lagos, where the sun is up at 25. 26 and rain showers in Kinshasa continue, highs of 31 and lows of 23. It's 7 degrees going into early evening Tuesday in Beijing, highs of just that 7 and lows of -8. It's cloudy at 3 in Paris, highs of 5 and lows of 1, and we'll see 1 as the low in a cloudy London at 5 degrees, and clear in New York Monday night, Tuesday night, coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 13 and lows of 5.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so it's Tuesday, and there's still traffic on certain parts of the city. It doesn't look too bad coming off of Thika Superhighway. Just past the Rutali Drift, not much now jumping off there. Outer Ring, where there was that mess, that has been cleared up, so getting into the city should not be a problem. We know that there will be constant traffic from here until the end of January, right around Landis. That's very, very busy inbound traffic, and a little bit here and there coming off of Kiambu Road. Okay, out of Westlands, still busy on James Gishuru and Ring Road Westlands. It's ebbing and flowing, but we should be out of that not too far from now. Let's talk through the morning on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Continues. So it's Innovation Week in Kenya, and we are talking about innovation and the role of tech innovators and investors in driving business incubators and investors in driving innovation in the country. We're joined by Kosen Kenta, who is a program manager at Antler, and that's what we've been talking about so far. Kosen, so if you look at this environment and the ecosystem around innovation in this country, several things. Number one, protecting ideas. This is IP and all. Number two, when you have this person, you are a small person with just an idea and big dreams and big ideas. Then this very big company comes. We are present in 30 countries, and we are investing in 100 businesses per year, and we can give you 80,000 USD plus, give you a grant plus we'll be there, and we'll be wanting reports on a daily basis. Basically, they're overwhelming you. And then there's a whole fear of losing your identity and losing that independence that you have. Do you hear that from people in the industry? When it comes to, the money that comes in, whether it's at your stage or whether it's at the stage of venture capital or whether it's a bigger stage of private equity?
I guess it is a fear that you'd move along, and now more money coming in and investors are coming in with their expectations, and which sometimes are unrealistic. But I think the most important thing is you want to retain your shape and your vision and just the mission as a company. So, we I guess you don't want to evolve into something you're not, and that sometimes the pressure. It's investors might actually come in and make you feel like, oh no, you need to scale into all these different countries, you need to start offering all these different services. And I think what we try to do, especially coming in very early, is to make sure you retain your shape and you actually understand where do you have a competitive advantage. So, for instance,
that already sounds like controlling. You want to make sure that I retain my shape and I understand where my competitive advantage is.
No, we're trying to set you up for the best.
And you're taking the view that just because you're giving me money, you know better than I do.
You see?
We're actually leveraging. That's why we say we're people first. We're leveraging your space. So, for instance, if you guys wanted to start something in the communication
Proverb
space, or proverb space. You've done so many now on the show. Yeah, we'd be leveraging that. So actually, even for us as the Antler team, it's a very humbling process. You're coming in, you're bringing in a lot of people with very, very impressive CVs and a lot of experience. So yeah, in that sense, we are very cognizant of that. We're trying to actually tap and leverage that. You've gotten very deep into a specific space. You have very sector-specific knowledge you might have. We want to get that out of you. So we're trying to help you make the most of the toolkits you actually have. So we're very much saying we understand your strengths, but as a founder, you also need to understand your weaknesses. And when you're on one track, so if you're just maybe your tech, you know how to build, that in and of itself doesn't mean you'll be able to build a successful startup.
Or even to market. Exactly. I'm asking this because there's some trait that I think we have as Kenyans.
Yeah.
We are not comfortable working with others. I don't know whether you've sensed that even in this space. Yeah. And that's why you see it's very few companies that will go into mergers and acquisition. There are very, very few companies that will start partnering between this company and the other. And even very few individuals who will let others in the family know exactly what kind of business they are running, because we're very, very protective of this thing that's mine. Now here you have this thing that's yours, and then you have the need to grow and the need to have the support that you require. How do you navigate around that intrinsic characteristic of ours?
Sure. No, that's a real thing. I think from a culture perspective, we want to own everything and have complete control. And I think that's very difficult it's very difficult for you to scale with that mindset. And that's actually a mindset shift that needs to change. There's somebody who used to tell me, a lot of people want to own the whole chicken, as opposed to maybe the leg of a cow. Like something. It's much more valuable. Exactly, and that really limits your ability to grow and scale when you want complete control. So even as you were talking earlier about, I don't want other people to come in. I think you're thinking of it as people coming to exploit you, as opposed to people coming to build you and complement you and supplement what you don't have, because you don't have everything. And if you try to do everything and spread yourself too thin, you'll do nothing. Everything will be operating suboptimally, and it makes more sense to just cede a bit of control to create something much larger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's Antler doing differently from other angel investors kind of thing? What would be different in this instance for businesses? And then of the businesses that you have been able to help, assist, let's call it that, where are they in terms of a lifeline today? And have they been able to then, or are they on the road to then achieving success when it comes to the initial inputs and then, account management, as it were?
Got it. So your first question in terms of what Antler is doing differently is right. When you describe accelerators, incubators, a lot of people are coming in at early, but not as early as us. A lot of people are still, you're already, you've gotten your feet wet, you're already in the business, and they're helping you continue to expand that. While Antler was saying, you'll come in here and you might have your ideas, but a lot of people join and they don't even have the ideas. So literally we're, again, leveraging your skill set and you as an individual, whereas a lot of people might be wanting to see a bit more proof of concept, a bit more traction, we're saying, with the right people. If they're together, bringing them together. So even that aspect of possibly getting your co-founders, not many other places will give you that kind of pool of people to come into a program with, like-minded individuals and a very large pool of people who you could potentially partner with. And I think that's another thing that we provide that not a lot of other people do. Again, okay, maybe some similar to others is we dedicate a lot of time, one-on-one time with these teams, give them a lot of coaching, even in terms, and also in terms of footprint. So as we described, over 400 advisors globally with 25 locations, all with now their founders as well with their various skill sets. It would be very easy for us to find the additional support you would need to help you like progress with your idea. Your next question was tied to, I guess, success stories or how it's going. So again, the horizon is much longer. So we do think a lot of our startups are still on track to actually hit those their milestones and potentially in 7-10 years to actually get to that potential $1 billion valuation and higher. Yeah.
Okay. So when do you let go?
I guess it depends. It's really on a case-by-case basis because again, not all founders and teams are the same, and I think that's something we really are very wary of. We don't have, but we try not to be too rigid in terms of how we progress with different people because everyone has different needs. So depending on your level, if we think you don't need as much hand-holding, we'll spread out how much we're actually coaching you and giving you time.
Okay, so perhaps the better question is, do you let go?
We do. At some point, I think we said you outgrow us.
Yes,
you become much larger. Now you're talking about people who are going to help you scale now across Africa, globally.
Yeah.
Again, we're at like the start, which means we will give you runway to kind of move along, but your needs will grow and they'll outgrow us, and you'll need larger sums of money to help you continue expanding. These investors are coming in. It's really important also for startups to actually really think about the kind of investors they actually want to partner with. It's what do you need? Do you need somebody who's hands-off? Do you need somebody who's actually going to give you more than the funding and a lot more support? Do you need to leverage their networks? Like, you need to also think through which investors make the most sense for you. And yeah, at some point, Antler will still be there to support you if you need it, but your needs might have changed. Yeah, they might have changed, exactly.
One of the things that people have been talking about when it comes to, tech startups in Kenya is looking at the mix between black and white. And the allegation has been, all right, so because this fund wants to go and market itself out there to its investors, as you know, we are supporting tech startups in Africa, in Kenya, which is one of the growing regions in Africa. So you bring in somebody from Europe to come here and partner with Kosen, and it appears like it's Kosen who's a founder, but the co-founder and the actual owner, the person who's actually getting the money, is this Mzungu. And then this thing collapses and they go away with the money. And the word is that Kenya does not actually have proper tech startups that can thrive and survive. You've faced this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I won't sugarcoat it. I think there's that sentiment largely that people think with either as a white founder or a white founder in your team, you might have a better chance of fundraising. That's definitely something we need to also just be wary of, because people should be judged on their merit. To that end, maybe Antler has actually supported, primarily it's 80% of our teams, of the 80% of the people supported actually African nationals. But we're not also, so I think maybe what we also need to put into context is the fact that there are skill sets that maybe could be needed to supplement. So again, for us, we don't say we only support African founders. And, if you look at it, for instance, I don't know if this is controversial, but the fact that there's a lot of brain drain, so many of our talent, even the tech talent, a lot of it is being basically poached and picked for larger multinationals and going into other geographies. And I guess the question is, if we have a few experts coming in also to give their skill sets.
So you call that brain gain?
Yeah, it's like even us, maybe we need to also benefit from the other brains from the other side as well.
I don't think that benefit you speak of is what the issue is, really. The issue is one of dominance and an imbalance in the way the gains are spread out. The understanding, it is probably false, but the narrative that is spoken of is one where essentially it boils down to advantage being taken off the locals. That really is at the heart of the narrative.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask a question in relation to that.
Yeah.
I know very little about what you do. I know also very little about that particular space, generally speaking. So you say what the stake that you go for is, say, 10%.
Yeah.
Okay. This is an industry. Is 10% below the market rate that people take? Is it above? Is it reasonable? What is it?
We pride ourselves in saying at any given time when we do give out our offer, it's the best in the market, considering what we're offering. So, you're right, there's maybe a family and friends around. Your family and friends might not ask. That's definitely better. Maybe they won't ask for.
They won't ask
a
for
stake.
equity.
They might exactly. They might not even give you. So in that sense, or grants.
Relatives have other problems that.
They'll also not give you 8 million.
No, it's not the issue here.
It's true. But you're looking for a better offer in terms of those terms. Yeah, there could be those, but in terms of now, people at the same level, I think we're the best offer in terms of 10%, adding in the fact that all the support that we give, how we walk through your journey from the start. I think it's a very good offer in the market.
Well, I don't know.
It's true, but yeah.
I don't know. So you tell me 10% is good, I'll say, okay, it is good.
You'll have to
15
believe
is good, then I'll say 15 is good.
Do you quantify the other things that you now, the add-ons?
Yeah.
So the time that you spend, the people that you'll bring to support this startup?
Yeah.
Or are you only looking at the 10%? It's the 80,000 USD. That is 10%. What about everything else?
Yeah,
the soft add-ons.
The soft add-ons. So I guess that's just.
So those ones come in as value adds.
Exactly. It's just additional things that we give to actually help you.
Now, because you've come to somebody at that point when they are very green, so to speak. The idea is green, and you're trying to also go into proof of concept. Does it actually meet the need?
Yeah.
Then you also have quite some leverage. It's 10% on paper, but the leverage is actually more than 10%, which means that even the direction that this business takes as it grows, which venture capital to approach, when to actually approach them, when to bring them on board, you have a big say.
So how would I answer that? I think we are advisors, which means we have some level of influence. That goes without saying, the fact that we are using our network. So the point is, we're hoping that we've built that connection and trust. So remember, we're spending a lot of time with these guys. So we're trying to build a relationship with these founders. I think when it's very one-on-one.
Okay.
So I don't think they listen to us because we have 10%. I don't think they listen to us because we're hanging this money over them. We've built a relationship, and there's where we are all trying to get the best out of this founder. That being said, it also is a decision. There's a conversation that needs to come around.
Yes.
What's the best kind of capital for you? Our horizon is 7 to 10 years. So can you imagine doing something you don't want to do for the next 7 to 10 years? That's why we think you'll fall along the wayside. If we need you to stay there, focused, motivated, we want you to do things that you're actually passionate about. That's, again, why it's a personal decision in terms of what you're actually going to look into, the areas that you want to actually explore. Even we also tell the founders, don't build for Antler. If you build for Antler, you might build something that you actually are not passionate about, that you don't see yourself doing for the next foreseeable 5 to 7 years.
Right.
So it's an important decision. And even for us, we don't want you just building because we said so. Because if you do, we're so early, you won't make it.
You'll just be out.
Exactly.
I'm looking at your profile, and what you have here is how you say Antler replaces the friends and family round of funding and supports founders through the initial idea generation, team formation, launch, and following seed round. And you come into that very beginning, which is where founders actually begin their journey at that point, idea.
Yeah.
And then as they continue growing into early stage venture, into later stage venture, into private equity. On this document, there are some organizations that are listed. For example, at early stage venture, you've got Y Combinator, you've got Techstars, and you've got Entrepreneurs Roundtable, Accelerator. You have Founders Fund in the later stage venture, Secure. You have Blackstone, you've got the Carlyle Group and the others. So
private equity,
are those linked to you?
No, we're not directly linked. It's, I guess, that infographic is supposed to show you.
It's an example.
How early we are. So
okay.
as against other people. So like against incubators, other later stage venture capital funds, and then all the way to PE. Because again, we're buying you runway, and you will need potentially capital further along. But again, as we said, the ticket sizes you might need more money if you're not expanding into different geographies here. You need more money that we wouldn't be able to support, but we'd be able to get you into the right rooms and to the right conversations to people who would.
So you have relationships with this?
So not necessarily. So we have a lot of relationships with other investors, but then, this was just an example.
For example,
the well-known ones that when you think of a PE fund, when you like Blackstone, when you think of VC. So that's just to show you just how early Antler comes in. We're literally saying from day zero.
When you're there with you.
We'll help you think it through.
At inception.
At inception, yeah.
Okay. What are the reasons why you would not work with someone?
All right, that's a good question. I think one thing is around depth. We want people that are very deep in again, we're leveraging your skill set, so we need people who have actually really gone deep into, and that could look at it could be in different ways. Could be, for instance, if you're in tech and you're like very good at the skills you have, you can go very deep in a very specific space. It could be a domain. You could be like, e-commerce, or just a very specific vertical that you've gone very deep in, and we can leverage that knowledge. In terms of something else that we don't, it's great also because, as we said, we're going to spend a lot of time with you, and we need you to go far deeper than anybody else. Again, you need to have the assumption, you need to have that humility to understand you're not the smartest person in the space, that there are other players also looking into solving some of the problems you're looking into. So you need to go much deeper than anybody else. We need people with a lot of grit. And that becomes evident even as you go through the program and you just go through. I think also people that aren't you need to be a bit open-minded. Because the problem with coming with, so for instance, people do come with ideas or rather solutions. So I know exactly what I want to build. That closes you off. And you start romanticizing what that idea is, and
how it can grow,
I'm going to do this,
how successful
and this,
it can
and
be.
this. Exactly. What you need to be is, first of all, you have to have the humility to understand, to have that potentially, I don't say crash, but just get a reality check with the tools, and you realize, okay, actually this wasn't as great an idea as I thought. Go back to the drawing board and then start again the ideation process. So if you're very close-minded, and maybe also to speak, because I spoke about how people you overvalue that idea, how great it is, and you undervalue your skill set. It's not, you don't also always have to come up with the idea.
With the best idea.
And that's the point, is what happens. You can come into the program and you find there's a friend who has a great idea. So there was an example. There's a fintech that came up, and what happened is somebody had an idea. They didn't have the domain expertise. They come in and then they found somebody with exactly that. And you'd reach out and you say, this is my dream. This is the problem I want to solve for. And you sell that vision, and the person bought into it, and that's how the team was formed.
So they actually came together and became co-founders of this.
Exactly.
So always be open-minded. Don't just close yourself up and think, all right, because that's the other thing that people will always battle with. This is my idea. When you guys are trying to shoot it down, it's because you're trying to steal it, and the next thing I'm going to see it out there with somebody else.
Exactly.
Right? At what point do you help somebody to then protect this idea? In terms of registering it, IP and all.
So we help with, I guess, largely the registration we help with is with registration of the company itself. When you're actually now going to market, we put very little value in ideas. Not very little value, a lot less value in the idea and more in the execution. Even because there probably are multiple people looking to solve the same problem. We believe the biggest thing you can do is actually execute. Execution is actually the most important thing, and two people will not execute in the same way. So again, also we don't personally support it, but we do actually have some partnerships. So for instance, we have a partnership with Bowman's, which actually gives us now office hours and actually offers now support to our startups. So yes, in case you do...
Bowman's Law Firm.
Bowman's Law Firm, yes. Right. So if you do need support, we're able to provide it. But again, we don't want people to because again, it's starting to now being really caught up in just the solution. You want to protect it. It's all about the solution, and you've not gotten product market fit. you've not actually shown that this is actually something that will scale. It's the protection, that protection should be the least of your worries at the beginning. The beginning is actually, do I have something worth actually solving for?
That's it.
That's where your focus should be. Yeah.
What color of shoes is he wearing?
They're black.
That's your moment. That's your moment. Go.
Yesterday, Ndu, walked into the supermarket and I bought a tin of Kiwi Black shoe polish.
Okay.
Which is what we want you to do as well. Now,
Right.
Kiwi's doing this fantastic thing where we're saying step up and shine, and you buy a tin of this polish. You then, after, not in the supermarket, you know how we open things and smell. No, you buy it first. Thereafter, you then dial *459*5#, and you send your code, which you'll find under the tin. Hence why you open later, and you win airtime instantly.
Instantly, all right.
Or bundles. Instantly. See tech innovation, those things.
I see.
Right.
I see you.
Then you enter into a draw to be able to win 35,000 shillings for school fees in January next year. Even if you don't have people you're sending to school, you can nominate somebody that you can send this 35,000 bob to and they can go to school next year. Step up and shine with Kiwi.
Got it. Step up and shine. All right.
Kosen, thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you.
Have a lovely day. Kosen Kenta is the program manager at Antler. We've been talking about innovation, incubation, investing in the country. Thank you for tuning in.